Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Grand Prairie Cricket Stadium, Grand Prairie, Texas, for the final regular season match in 2025, at least in the Central Division in the stadium. Michigan Cricket Stars against the St. Louis Americans. And I will tell you that even though both of these teams are toward the bottom of the table, don't tell them that this game is not important. This is the final chance that this pair or these two teams have the opportunity to essentially make a name for themselves in this tournament. And even though, as I said, the two teams that are playing today are at the bottom of the table, Michigan Cricket Stars are in the 7th spot, St. Louis Americans in the 8th spot. And there's a lot of action at the top of the table. And we'll talk about that as we get through today. But as of right now, we're looking at this game. But again, still an important match. You want to make a good name for yourself. You want to make sure that those who are around see that you are essentially worthy of a place in this league. And particularly, both of these teams, but more so the St. Louis Americans, have a number of very young players. That's something that I myself have always been passionate about, and you want the younger players to be featured. So, Michigan Cricket Stars winning the toss. Captain Zishan Maksood choosing to have a bowl this morning. Very hot, humid conditions here in North Texas. And it will be the opening pair coming out to bat shortly, because again, you've looked at essentially the way that this entire tournament has gone. Open the batting at the very top with the great Naman Anwar, and you'll see him in action very shortly. In addition, I believe his opening partner is going to be Arya Kananta. We'll get all that confirmed as soon as we have that information. But big picture here from the very middle is St. Louis Americans, having been inserted into bat, will be looking to get off to a fast start here in their last game of the season. And it is in fact confirmed. The openers are going to be Naman Anwar and Arya Kananta. Interestingly, walking in, I came across the Kananta family. Sudhir Kananta, who is a longtime stalwart in the Houston area. And he and his entire family are here to watch his son, Arya, perform at the top of the lineup. He's done excellently the entire time he's been in the tournament this year. And always good to see the youngsters performing in the way that they are. So, really good start here on the way. You'd expect that this ball, the new ball, will be moving around a little bit. All in readiness, as they say. Here's the very first ball to Naman Anwar. Working this one into the leg side to get started. So, off and running, the very first ball. Naman Anwar, tremendous player. You've seen him in the minor leagues for the last several years. You've seen him in the major leagues for the last couple of years. Excuse me. And in particular, you've seen Naman Anwar get off to the fast start that he's accustomed to. Does not like to be tied down. Normally is very aggressive. Strike rates will be, in fact, we'll talk about those in just a second. You'll get the sense that he's the type of batter who does not want to get tied down in any way. And we'll see what that looks like here shortly. And looking at the figures for the St. Louis Americans, Naman Anwar, the leading batter in the side, in 7 matches, 182 runs, high score of 117. So a little bit deceptive, 182 runs, but in 6 of those matches, he had a paltry score, but that 117 stands out as evidence of the type of batter that he is. And then secondly, in the side, the number 2 batter is Arya Kananta. Arya Kananta now on strike, 173 runs on the season, high score of 76, and in fact has a slightly better average than Naman Anwar himself. It's going to be a bye here as keeper not exactly collecting that one cleanly. So you have to maybe a bit of a sedate start. 3 delivers in. By the way, the opening bowler is Umar Farouk. Excellent bowler. Saw him yesterday. He looks absolutely quick and uses the short ball that he has to great effect. You don't necessarily like a fast bowler to come up and just hammer it in short every ball. But if he uses it as a surprise weapon, he can be deadly. There's a short ball. Excuse me. It gets away from the fielder's short fine leg and goes away for 4. So, in fact, it was not off the bat. It's off the body. So it's a leg by 4 runs. I said that he uses a short ball to great effect. Number one, if you get Naminan War to pull and miss at a short delivery, that tells you that there's some pace there. Number two, perhaps more importantly, when Arya Kanantha was batting yesterday to this same bowler, he hit him with a short delivery in the helmet, probably shook Arya Kanantha up just a little bit. 19-year-old taking that one off of his helmet, and then the very next ball he was caught in the in short mid-wicket area. So he very much uses the short ball to good effect, and I think you'll see evidence of it as you go through this opening spell. So just 1 ball now remaining. A few runs, 7 of them in all so far from the first over. And with Naminan War and Arya Kanantha at the top of the lineup, again, these are your top 2 batters on the season. Arya Kanantha, interestingly, the third leading batter, Adnit Jam, the 15-year-old out of St. Louis, has the exact same number of runs that Arya Kanantha did coming into this match, 173 each. Adnit Jam taking maybe just 1 more game to get to those numbers, which is why Arya Kanantha is higher ranked. Short delivery again. I'll tell you what, you know that short ball was coming. Arya Kanantha, a fast bowler, never forgets who he troubles with a short ball, and I think that will be a developing theme as we get through the rest of this match. End of over number 1, 7 without loss.
At US Wide Financial, we know how hard it is to navigate the mortgage process. Don't get lost down the rabbit hole of pressure sales, burdensome paperwork, and hidden fees. US Wide. No surprises, no tricks, no need to call. Check out our rates online at uswidefinancial.com.
Seven without loss. I mentioned that short ball has been used to great effect by Umar Farouk. If you are a fast bowler, and let me preface my statement by saying that cricket can be a very brutal game sometimes, but if you are a fast bowler and you have the pace to be able to trouble good batters with a short, hostile delivery, you are not living into your craft if you don't use that weapon when you have it. And I am very careful in how I say that because, again, cricket can be a brutal sport. Of course, we all in the cricket community remember, sadly, the loss of Phil Hughes in 2013 in Australia. But if you are going to be playing the sport as a fast bowler and you have the ability to deploy that weapon, then I think you're not being true to your craft if you don't put yourself in the position of being able to use it. And that can sometimes be a controversial thing to say, but I think it's part and parcel of being a fast bowler. Anyway, Vedant Pathak into the attack, the very first delivery. Wanted to see exactly how it goes here. It's not quite as quick as Umar Farouk, Vedant Pathak, but I think he's quick enough. And if you have in the back of your mind the type of bowling that you've seen so far, if you know that these are the types of deliveries that you'll get from the opening fast bowlers, as a batter, that puts you on the back foot, and it essentially puts the bowler psychologically in an advantage, or I should say in an advantageous position. Goes for the big drive and misses. By the way, if as we go through today, you might hear my voice cracking just a little bit, and that's because I lost it amidst all of the yelling in yesterday's match. Absolutely scintillating match that had huge playoff implications right here in the stadium. The Kings 11 Dallas defeated the Dallas X4 Giants in a super over, if you can believe that. A game, again, with tremendous implications. And we'll go through those specifics and talk about what that means the rest of the way. Cut away into the offside. I'll tell you what, that's a great piece of fielding, and that saves 3 runs. Because that, for all money, I think would have gone to the boundary for 4 had that not been stopped in the cover. So great piece of work. So a relatively sedate start continues here. Well, sedate from the standpoint that the scoreboard has not yet been lit alight, if you will. But there's already a lot of action. You see the fast bowlers living into their craft. Arya Kanantha now on strike. 3 balls faced, nothing to his name yet. Oh my! Well, you don't see that very often. A big swipe and a miss by Arya Kanantha. The ball thuds into the keeper's gloves. The bat goes to backward square leg. So look at this. He had designs on hitting this out of the stadium. And look at the bat go. These are times as a batter where you may just feel that the world is against you because, boy, that bat almost went further than the ball did. But I think Arya Kanantha needs to not try to hit the ball so hard. Looks to swipe this one away again. And the reason I say that, and going back to the conversation about the short deliveries, sometimes the best way to set a batter off of his rhythm is to pepper him with short balls. And I hope that that's not what happens here with Arya Kanantha, because those last 2 shots to me signaled almost, if not desperation, at least over-aggression. And that can sometimes be the result of having faced a couple of short balls and wanting to have the batter make that the bowler know that you're not intimidated by him. But essentially, you play into the bowler's hands by doing that. So I would not mind just seeing him be a little bit more relaxed and just take the ball on its merits and just push it into the offside for a single in that gigantic gap on the offside. Looks to pull it away again. 3 straight balls that he misses out on. This one, however, is a wide. Umpire Vishnu Pillai signaling that it is as such. Let's see what the signal is here. Take a look at this again. Ah, interesting. It's signaled as a wide, but look where Arya Kanantha is. He moves over to the offside, and so the bowler, Vedant Pathak, is arguing. That's a good look at it here. So, in fact, we'll look at this. Maybe after the over, we'll take a look at this again, because that's something worth talking about. So 1 ball remaining. It is adjudged as a wide, but I think Vedant Pathak may have a point in protesting that decision. And again, hopefully we'll be able to talk about it immediately after this last ball of this over. Full. Goes for the drive. Cannot get it away. That's a dot ball to close things out in over number 2. The score is 9 without loss. Hopefully we can go back and look at this here, because this is something I think that's worth talking about. Right before the bowler releases. Look at the batter right there, freeze it there. That is his initial movement was here, but then he steps to the offside. And if you step to the offside there, then in theory, from the umpire's standpoint, that wide line should have moved over as well. So unless the ball is outside of that white line, in theory, that would not have been a wide. And if you see just there, the ball passes just inside of that wide line, which is about the same distance that Arya Kanantha moved over to the offside. So generally speaking, when the batter moves over to the offside in that way, the umpire is assuming that the wide line moves in condition in relation to the umpire. I'm sorry, in relation to the batter. So that's something to pay attention to, because in many instances that can be a little bit deceiving. And I think if I am the bowler, Vedant Pathak, I probably have a legitimate argument that that should not have been adjudged as a wide. Doesn't make a very big difference in the context of the game, but that's something to be able to show what the umpires think about when they make these decisions. So 9 deliveries, make that 9 runs on the board. And I think we'll see here. Take a look at this again. Good ball, swinging in, definitely going down the leg side. So that's a good decision by umpire Karthik Nachimutu. So good spell of bowling here by these opening bowlers. And for the most part, you have tied down this opening batting pair. You are 14 deliveries into, make that 13 deliveries into the match. Only 9 runs on the board, so the run rate is 4.15. 4.15 projects to a score of 83. Short. Again, that short delivery that Umar Farouk possesses. And once again, you have the ability to defeat Naman Anwar on a short delivery. Now, for me, look down at fine leg, backward square leg, really, a wideish fine leg. There's a fielder position on the boundary down there, and he is there for that ball. So there's a short fine leg, regulation fine leg at about 45 degrees, but sort of a wide fine leg, backward square leg. There is a fielder there. So he is there for that short delivery. So pay attention to how that develops, because I think it's certainly a story worth talking about. There is a short ball, but this one I think is too wide, and it's signaled as wide. And in fact, it will go for 5 wides. So earlier, I talked about the fact that if you are a fast bowler and you have that weapon, you're not being true to your craft if you don't use it. Well, this for me is overusing it. No point in banging it in that short that it sails over the head of the batter and over the head of the keeper. So 5 bonus runs in addition to it being adjudged as the 1 short ball for the over. So you've put yourself at a disadvantage by doing that. Look at this again. I don't think there's any question that's bouncing over everybody's head. And then wicket keeper Ramrapalan not quite able to corral that one, so it goes away for 5 bonus runs. That helps you with the scoring. And we'll see exactly how this goes the rest of the way. 5 bonus runs from this over, 3 balls to come. Looks to cut this one away, not getting anything on it. So, absent the one lethal short delivery that you saw that hit Naman Anwar, but you've also had a number of other short deliveries that are difficult to score off of. And again, I hope I'm not sounding like I am speaking out of both sides of my mouth. You don't want to overdo the short balls, but you also don't want to change from that attack if the batters have not shown an ability to handle it. And so that's something to pay attention to as you get through the rest of the spell. There is a short delivery again, yet another wide, and I believe this is going to be a no ball. That's a good decision here by umpire Vishnu Pillai, immediately signaling no ball. And the reason for that is that you are allowed 1 short ball for the over. By definition, a ball that bounces above the shoulder of the batter when he's in normal standing position, that is a short ball. You're allowed 1 of those. But if you bowl a second one, then that second delivery, that second short ball is, and any subsequent ones after that are adjudged to be no balls. This is a good call. Initially, it was signaled as wide by umpire Samir Bandekar, but Vishnu Pillai at square leg rightly, I think, overruling him and saying that is should have been adjudged to be a no ball. It was a no ball. The subsequent free hit has just been put away for 4. So that hopefully, at least from the standpoint of the St. Louis Americans, allows you to release the shackles just a little bit. They've been tied down by hostile bowling, but this one, as a free hit, went with a slower short delivery, and Naman Anwar pivoting on it and putting it away over backward square for 4. 1 ball remaining. My apologies, by the way. Earlier I said that it was Karthik Nachamuthu who was the umpire. It's actually Samir Bandekar. His back is turned to you right now. So the last ball coming up here, Umar Farouk. Swipe and a miss from that last delivery. So an eventful over. Eventually 10 runs coming from it. End of 3. The score is 19 without loss.
Hi, we're Clear. We're making the home loan process easier and more transparent. At Clear.loans, you can learn as you go. Build your own personalized quote, compare options, and instantly see all the costs. No hidden fees, no surprises. Experience it for yourself at Clear.loans.
Good, hostile, fast bowling to start this match. And somebody like me who has, number one, Caribbean heritage, and number two, was alive in the 70s. I'll get back to that point because that is the end of Arakanantha. Goes across the line to a ball that was too full for that type of shot. And unfortunately, Arakanantha loses his leg stump. So the first wicket is down. The pressure that's been built by these opening bowlers works. Arakanantha, and in fact, look at that. My apologies. That was actually a short enough delivery to play that shot, but it happened that he inside edged it, and it went from the bat onto his stumps. So not quite as full as I was realizing, and in retrospect, it was a short enough ball to play that shot too, but he appeared to just be late on the shot, taking the under edge and the ball crashing into the leg stump. But in any event, it goes down as a dismissal. That's the end of Arakanantha. Unfortunately for him, does not trouble the scorers. And the number 3 batter coming to the crease will be Arnav Jam to join Naman Anwar. First blood here to the Michigan Cricket Stars. The score is 19-1. Arnav Jam. And I believe this is Arnav Jam. Of course, his brother Adnit, similarly built, and with the helmet on, it's a little bit difficult to tell. But yes, this is Arnav Jam. Arnav Jam is 19 years old. Adnit, his younger brother, touche, Mr. Hassan. His younger brother Adnit, 15. So one of the best things, and I touched on this earlier, one of the best things about this tournament, particularly for the St. Louis Americans, is that you have the opportunity to bring young players up. Arnav Jam, 19 years old. His brother Adnit is 15. There, we will see later on when they're in the field, Baladitya Kotula, who all of yesterday I was referring to him as a U19 player. I found out last night that he's actually 15 years old. So 2 15-year-olds in a squad playing a very high level of cricket is something that I absolutely love to see. And then somebody like a Joshua Kind, who is a relative veteran by those standards. Josh is probably around 22 or so years old. But a team of young players is absolutely what you love to see. And it augurs well for the development as somebody myself who enjoys and is passionate about the development of the sport. That is an absolutely critical element. Anyway, back to you, Mr. Vedant Pathak. Good looking shot. Oh, that is a little bit sloppy. That should have been stopped at mid-off, but it runs away for 4. Look at this replay when we get the chance. Solid shot, punch down the ground, proper cricket shot. But this effort was more, I think it belonged more on a football, meaning a soccer field, than a cricket field. That effort at mid-on, make that mid-off. For me, Abhimanyu Mithun should be getting down and stopping that with his hand and not attempting to recreate a soccer kick. Maybe we'll get the chance to look at that again. In fact, here we go. Look at this. We'll get back to that shortly after that delivery, which is a dot. Okay, let's see if we can go back and look at this again. A little bit of soccer action coming from the left side of your screen as you see this replay. And just missed it, but he is literally sliding over. And okay, this is a good view right here. Oh, he had more than enough time to get down and stop it with his hand, and you don't ever want to see that. In addition to the fact that that's a pretty easy way to have a horrific ankle injury, I personally have done that in the past, and so I speak from experience there. But I think the coaches will tell you your job is to get down and stop that with your hand. And I think he had more than enough time. Slashing away at this one, Arnav Jam not able to get anything to it. Now he will like that shot that went for four, Arnav Jam. A proper cricket shot, high front arm, the ball punched down the ground, keeping it in the V. That's what you want to do at this stage of the innings. And he probably is the beneficiary of some ordinary fielding, but I think the shot itself deserves recognition. So one ball remaining here in over number 4. I think you'll see evidence that this team is starting off in a little bit of a sedate fashion. Scoring rate right now is exactly at 6. Scoring rate now goes to be less. Oh, goes as wide. So coincidentally, just started talking about that scoring rate. It is now above 6.26 with that wide. Interestingly, and look at this, and I didn't realize this until I just looked at my scorecard. The score is 24 for 1. Of those 24 runs, 13 are extras. 7 wides. You've had a no ball, and you've had a couple of byes. In fact, you've had a couple of no balls. So extras are outscoring the batters, and that's not a good position to be in. Played away square. Adnit Jam will retain the strike. When you get to the 5th over, end of 4, the score is 25 for 1.
With insurance plans, one size does not fit all. Your coverage might not be enough, or there might be gaps you didn't know about. At Bima, we build a plan from the best options available for you, for your home, your car, your health, and everything else. At Bima, we believe better insurance means assurance.
"25 runs in 4 overs is not lighting the world afire." Norman Anwar 7 from 13. I'm sick that Arnav Jam 5 from 5. And this pair is going to be looking to, at least hopefully from their standpoint, get something going. It's not going to be easy against Umar Farouk. Good, hostile fast bowler. I think overdoing it in the last over with the short deliveries, one of which was adjudged to have been a no ball because it's the second short delivery in that over. But on balance, as a batter, you have that in the back of your mind. When am I going to see the short ball? And sometimes that tends to trap you on the crease or trap you on the back foot because you're looking essentially to take evasive action. And when that happens and you get one full and straight, that is essentially how a fast bowler can sometimes take wickets. Because if you have a barrage of short deliveries, even if it's not a bouncer, by definition, a bouncer is one that goes over your shoulder. Even if it's one to the ribs, in the ribs is perfectly legal. You could do that 6 times and over if you can. But that essentially puts you in a difficult spot as a batter, and that certainly would be something that's in the back of your mind. From your standpoint as a batter right now, you're thinking to yourself, okay, Umar Farouk is into his 3rd over. If all I need to do is just survive this over, I don't think that they'll bowl him 4 overs up front. And so let's get through the next 4 balls, and then maybe we can start looking at how we can create something off of the other bowlers. But Umar Farouk himself is extremely difficult to score off of. And maybe at this point you're just in survival mode. 3 good deliveries to start here. Not sure what this appeal is about. And Samir Bandekar is not interested in the appeal. And I will tell you, as Ramrapala is standing at the stumps asking the question to the umpire, Samir Bandekar will not like that one bit. Maybe we can go back and look to see what basis or on what basis they were appealing. Didn't see anything live to indicate that that would have been a dismissal. Maybe we can go back and take a look to see what the complaint was. But in any event, 3 dot balls here from the mindset here of Arnav Jam. Maybe you just think about getting through the next 3 balls. If you get a gift, you can put it away, but otherwise just stay out of trouble against this bowler. Looking for the slash, missing out on it, and nothing doing. Let's see if we can take a look at this here. Playing sort of away from his body, and the appeal, I believe, was for a catch. Couldn't really see anything on that delivery that would indicate, on that replay I should say, that would indicate that that was an edge. I think the appeal was for caught behind. In full fairness, I am slightly blinded from where I am right now. The keeper is out of my direct line of sight, so some of this is hard to follow live, but we'll see what happens the rest of the way here. Last 2 balls, short delivery, good hostile short delivery, and really well played also by Arnav Jam, getting on top of that one and riding the bounce. Sometimes riding the bounce can be a little bit tricky. If the ball bounces more than you expect, then you're a bit in no man's land. But we'll see exactly how Arnav Jam does on this last delivery. But on balance, I think you've gotten to a good start here. Here's that last ball of over number 5. 7 delivers remaining in the power play. Yorker length. That is what I was referring to. If, as a fast bowler, you're bowling short, when you push one up full, then it can sometimes lead to a rash shot. Arnav Jam plays and misses. A good over, a maiden over bowled here by Umar Farouk. The question to be asked is, do you keep him on or do you give him a break? End of 5, 25 for 1.
At US-wide Financial, we know how hard it is to navigate the mortgage process. Don't get lost down the rabbit hole of pressure sales, burdensome paperwork, and hidden fees. US-wide. No surprises, no tricks, no need to call. Check out our rates online at uswidefinancial.com.
Five overs in the books. 25 runs on the board, 1 wicket down. Vedant Patak, in fact, no, it will be a change in bowling. Bowler is going to be Agasti Takpire. Played into the offside. We'll get a single here. Abhimanyu Mithun is having some difficulty fielding the ball at mid-off. You saw the football skills earlier. And here he somehow manages to have that delivery be turned into 2 runs. So 2 runs to Norman Anwar. 7 from 13. In fact, now 9 from 15 after those 2 runs. So again, it's Agasti Takpire who's the bowler. Plays this through the offside. That's going to run away for 4. So welcome runs here. That is the 3rd boundary of the day. Norman Anwar, I think, is going to be looking to start taking charge here because survived the hostile opening spell, particularly from Umar Farouk. but you're looking to see how you can sort of extricate yourself from that vice grip that the bowling has had you in. So 2 from the first ball and then a boundary off the second ball. As I said earlier, maybe the plan really should have been just to see off Umar Farouk and then see if you can get your runs from the change bowlers. So 6 runs from the first 2 balls here in over number 6. And Anam Anwar looking to continue that exact. Look at this. Chip the square leg for a wicket. I'll tell you what. Agaste Takpire, change bowler, wanting to keep that ball up to the bat. Really, it was a bit of a ball that was too straight. Clipped firmly by Naman Anwar, but picking out square leg, backward square leg, if you will, off the middle of the bat. I'll tell you what. The coaches will tell you that was too straight. And so I don't want to be unkind. Not the type of delivery that typically gets Naman Anwar out. And 1 yard to either side of the field at square leg, and that's probably 4 runs. But that does not matter. It's a wicket, and that's all you care about if you're Mr. Takpiri. Clipping it in the deep, and look at that little celebration. Oh, you like seeing that, because at the point where you're looking to get things accelerated, wanting to get into your action here, but Agaste Takpiri finds the ability to take a wicket out of nowhere. It seems like the first couple of deliveries went for 4 and a 6. Went for 2 and a 4, and then Naman Anwar, the dangerous Naman Anwar, dismissed from a ball that on another day he probably puts away for a boundary. So that's the second wicket. Adnit Jam coming into the wicket now to join his brother. Second wicket down. The score is 31 for 2. So 31 runs on the board, 2 wickets down. Your 3 deliveries remaining in the power play. And Agaste Takpiri, who has been introduced into the attack, conceded a 2 and a 4 from the first 2 balls, but then the very next ball is a wicket. You certainly want to do that. I'll tell you that of all the things that you wanted to pay attention to, this is for me one of the more interesting ones. The 2 brothers, Adnit and Arnav Jam. It's going to be Adnit, the 15-year-old. And so it's a youngster. Don't know how old Agaste Takpiri is, but he doesn't look much older than 15 or 16. Off the outside edge, first ball is played into the deep. They'll get a couple of runs here. Adnit Jam immediately off the mark, getting that one down to deep third. So yes, candidly, I don't have a lot of information on Mr. Takpiri, Agaste Takpiri. But just to the naked eye from 150 yards away, he does not look any older than 16 or 17 years old. And so this very much could be a matchup that takes place in this country for the next several years. In fact, for probably the next couple of decades, if you will. Very full. Played back to the bowler himself, no run. So he's conceded 8 runs here, Agaste Takpiri, but in conceding those 8 runs, he's already taken a wicket, and that the big wicket of Naman Anwar, likely the best batter in the side. I say likely. I think statistically he has the best numbers in the side, and then certainly in terms of reputation, somebody like Saif Badar might have something to say about that. But for me, he and Saif Badar 1 and 2. I'd put it that way. Last ball. Looks to slash this one away, can get nothing on it. A successful over comes to an end. Agaste Takpiri is among the wickets. The score after 6 overs is 33 for 2.
Hi, we're Clear. We're making the home loan process easier and more transparent. At Clear.loans, you can learn as you go. Build your own personalized quote. Compare options and instantly see all the costs. No hidden fees, no surprises. Experience it for yourself at Clear.loans.
So spin into the attack. End of the power play so you can be more defensive. And Arnav Jam on strike. Facing now up to a couple of, in fact, to a spinner. This is going to be Ahmad Alam. Leg spinner. First delivery worked into the leg side for a single. So you've gotten through the power play. And a relatively paltry score, I would think, of 34. Make that 33 after the power play. 34, now one delivery into over number 7. Your scoring rate is 5.51. Quicker delivery played into the offside. Oh, that gets through. Short cover. That really should have been stopped. Instead, they'll concede a couple of runs. So the point I started making just now is that you're looking at a run rate, which is now 5.68. That projected score is 114. In this stadium for this season, the team batting first has averaged 192. So you are a fair distance away from that type of an average. You're right now scoring at 5.54 and over. If somehow you manage to increase your scoring rate to 10 runs and over, 10 runs and over from here to include that dot ball that you just saw, make that 9 runs and over gets you to 156. 8 and over gets you to 143. But things are getting more and more difficult. And 3 consecutive dot balls here is not going to help. Started out with a 1 and a 2 in this over. But you're down to the last ball here. And the scoring rate is candidly paltry at this stage. And it continues in exactly the same way. 3 runs coming from the over. End of 7, 36 for 2.
With insurance plans, one size does not fit all. Your coverage might not be enough, or there might be gaps you didn't know about. At Bima, we build a plan from the best options available for you, for your home, your car, your health, and everything else. At Bima, we believe better insurance means assurance.
$36 for 2 is your score. That man in the center of your screen is the captain of the Michigan Cricket Stars, former captain of the Omani national side, Zishan Maksud. Brilliant left-arm orthodox bowler, turning the ball away from these 2 right-handed batters. And when he bats later on, if he's needed to bat, he's a destructive middle-order batter. Left-handed middle-order batter. Now here bowling to Arnav Jam. Quick single. I'll tell you what, that's great cricket. What that evidences for me is 2 young men who've been playing cricket together probably for the length of time that Adnit Jam has been alive. So just dropping it into the offside directly in front of the fielder at short cover. That is Khurram Nawaz Khan. And immediately finding that there was an opportunity there for a single. Singles at this stage are brilliant. Singles essentially help you to improve on your scoring rate. And if you can turn those singles into doubles that they just did just now, that becomes even better. Arnav Jam is now up to 6 from 9. I'm sorry, Adnit Jam is 6 from 9. Arnav Jam is 7 from 13. This is not very easy. And the score ticking along, it's now 39 for 2. In fact, I'm not the only one having trouble with it. I think the scorecard is also having trouble keeping up with the differences. Of course, on the scorecard, both batters are named A Jam. I would think in the scoring application, you'd probably want to name one of them something different, at least for purposes, maybe A1 Jam or something along those lines that would allow you to tell them apart, because it becomes very difficult. Played into the leg side, yet another single. Do they look for 2? No, they won't look for 2 here. But maybe just in the last couple of overs, starting to find the opportunity to score some runs. Can't do it very fluidly just yet. But anytime you can have the opportunity to get something going offensively, 3 fours is all that you've struck for the day. And bearing in mind a lot of extras, because this could have been much worse than it already is. Low full toss, stroke down the ground. So going into the last ball here of over number 8. 42 runs on the board. Your projected score as of right now, 107. Somehow get that scoring rate up to 9 and over. You get to 152. I would think that the targeted score should be somewhere around a minimum of 135. 135 I think is doable. 7 and over gets you to 127 from here. 8 and over gets you to 139. Swept into the leg side. They wanted a second run, but no realistic chance of getting it. But a productive over. 7 runs coming from it. End of over number 9. Make that over number 8. The score is 4-3 for 2.
At US Wide Financial, we know how hard it is to navigate the mortgage process. Don't get lost down the rabbit hole of pressure sales, burdensome paperwork, and hidden fees. US Wide. No surprises, no tricks, no need to call. Check out our rates online at uswidefinancial.com.
Will fall on the sword and say I apologize to everybody who's pointed this out to me, that last night I billed it as a win and you're in scenario for both the Kings 11 Dallas and the Dallas Exforia Giants. That's not exactly accurate because of the fact that the Central Division has a higher number of teams than the other divisions. Oh my goodness, that is a drop, but more realistically, that is 3 runs saved. Tremendous effort. I'll get back to the other point in a second. The captain, Zishan Maksoud, with a spectacular effort. Don't know if we have the opportunity to go back and look at this. Look at this. Pulled massively. And this, to me, is going to be 4 runs all the way. Had Zishan Maksoud not stopped that. So technically, it is a drop. That is about as harsh a designation as you can have, because the more realistic outcome of that play is that he saved 3 runs. Very full delivery and hammered. And Zishan Maksoud all out and stretching, diving away to his right. He is left-handed, so that's to his weaker side. And I will tell you that that is spectacular. Look at this again. On the back foot. And look at that effort from Zishan Maksoud. He's an older player now, 37 years old. And I think the bigger point there is the last thing I said, is that he is right, make that left-handed. So it is always more difficult to catch a ball to your weaker side. He almost pulled that off. That was spectacular. So, boy, that is amazing. And I don't know if I wouldn't want to see that. I've never wanted to pay more attention to a short delivery. That is in the air, catchable. And it is taken. That is a great catch. Very well judged. I believe that is Utkar Shrivastava. And if it is, well, whoever it is, that's a great catch. Dying as it got to him in the outfield and coming forward and taking that one just inches off of the turf. Wicket number 3 is down. St. Louis Americans are 45 for 3. Take a look at this again. It's a long hop. It is an absolute long hop, and probably could have done better with that Arnav Jam, and just not quite catching the number of that fielder. I believe it's Utkar Shrivastava. I stand to be corrected on that, and we'll probably get that information very shortly. But let's just say that it's a really good catch to dismiss or to get wicket number 3. And yes, that is Utkar Shrivastava. Brilliant catch by the young man out of North Carolina. And I think that you'll see evidence that he himself is one of the brighter lights in U.S. cricket. Plays for the U.S. U19 team. And I think on balance, the number of young players around who are able to make a name for themselves is something that personally I'm very enthused by. And now you've gotten to the point where you've gotten a couple of wickets here in relatively quick succession. 45 runs on the board, 3 wickets down, up that 45 runs, 13 are extras. So just make that 32 rather, off of the bat. I have been told a number of times, do not ever do live math on the air. And I always fall into that trap. But anyway, this is, to me, an important moment in the game. This is the man I talked about earlier, who probably is going to rival Norman Anwar for best batter in the side, Saif Badar. Major leaguer. I've seen him play the last couple of years. I believe he was at the Los Angeles Knight Riders this last season. Get that confirmed as soon as possible. But what is undeniable is that he's an amazing talent. Yes, he was with the Knight Riders this past season. So that's the end of the over. 9 overs in the books, 47 for 3.
Hi, we're Clear. We're making the home loan process easier and more transparent. At Clear.loans, you can learn as you go. Build your own personalized quote, compare options, and instantly see all the costs. No hidden fees, no surprises. Experience it for yourself at Clear.loans.
Saif Badar retains strike. 1 ball faced, 1 run scored. Opposite end is Adnit Jam, 11 from 17. Saif Badar clipping this one down the ground for a single. Okay, my apologies. It was actually Adnit Jam who was dismissed. Arnav Jam is still batting. And let's just say, we'll skip that. The first single of over number 10 goes to Saif Badar. Zishan Maksud continuing his spell here. Ooh, tell you what, Arnav Jam was lined up wanting to go for the big one and then checks the shot at the last minute. Probably a good idea because Zishan Maksud is very wily and can tempt you into a rash shot. Control of length and line is immaculate. Quicker delivery here. Worked to try to sweep it around the corner and he's bowled around his legs. Oh my goodness. So it was a quicker, flatter ball. Arnav Jam looking to sweep that one away, and I want to see exactly where this ball passes. Look at this. Steps right across, and that is excellent bowling. Unfortunately for Arnav Jam, looking to play that one around the leg side. That's a shot that you play to a ball that's not going to threaten the stumps. But if it's on the stumps, it becomes a pretty terminal effort. If you're going to play that sweep shot, you probably want to be playing that one in the V. Look at this again. A little bit of a celebration, muted celebration by the captain. Wicket number 4 goes down. The score is 48 for 4. And with 3 balls remaining in the over, we at the designated water break at the end of 10, we'll probably have a short. In fact, we will have the water break now. St. Louis struggling. 3 balls into over number 10. The score is 48 for 4. 3 deliveries remaining in over number 10. Joshua Kind is your new batter, facing up to the wily Zishan Maksud. Josh Kind, talked about him earlier, probably, in my mind, probably around 22 years old. And that qualifies him as being one of the elder statesmen on the team, I think. In any event, 2 balls remaining here in over number 10, just about at the halfway stage. Zishan Maksud into his second over. Oh, look at that 37-year-old throw himself around on the ground. You don't mind seeing that, of course. You want him to lead from the front in that way. So Saif Badar back on strike here to face one more ball in the 10th over. 10th over being bowled here by Zishan Maksud. Around the leg side. Let's see if this flicked anything on the way through. It's going to go for 4. What? Oh, did not flick anything on the way through. So it's 5 wides. So in other words, 1 for the wide and then 4 for the runs that ensued after the wide. So 5 wides, 5 more runs to the total. You need all those runs that you can get at this stage, because you're struggling to get runs on the board. And in fact, with those 5 wides, you get above 50. 54 on the board with 1 ball remaining here in the 10th over. Loopy, slow delivery, played down the ground. Saif Badar will retain strike. That is the end of over number 10. Halfway through, the score is 55 for 4. So halfway through the innings, 55 for 4. Saif Badar, 3 from 3. Josh Kind, 1 from 2. This is going to be Ahmad Alam into his 3rd over. Figures so far 1 for 7. Make that 1 for 8 after that single. And you want to see the youngsters do well. Saif Badar, who remains a youngster, even though it seems like he's been around forever. We had the discussion today and I'm reminded that he is actually younger than my older son. He's 26 years old. And Saif Badar, brilliant cricketer, top order batter, useful slow bowler, and about the strongest throwing arm that you will see anywhere in the league, to include the typical fast bowling that you see from the fast bowlers. Oh, not quite feeling that one, Khurram Nawaz Khan. Underhand throw came in a little bit offline, so at least from the standpoint of Saif Badar, he gets home relatively safely. I don't know necessarily that that's a single that you want to take very often, unless they've picked out Khurram Nawaz Khan and gotten themselves in the mindset that, hey, I think we can just knock the ball in front of this specific fielder and take him on. And you might need to start doing things like that, because you're starting to fall behind in terms of the run rate. Couple of runs down here to deep 3rd. And you want to start manufacturing runs. You're falling behind. The scoring rate after that double is 5.45. Projection there is 109. So that projection has been hovering around the low 100s for a long time. And of course, the closer you get to the end of the innings, the more difficult it becomes to go better than that. That is a low full toss that is punched in the deep. Utkarsh Shrivastava is the man who fields that one, Just one run coming from that last ball of the over. Five in all come from the over. End of 11. The score is 60 for 4. Into over number 12. A couple of runs here to start. Saif Badar, oh my goodness, an overthrow, so you'll get 3. Oh! I don't know if we have the chance to look at that again. That throw coming from the outfield as they ran 3 could very easily have hit umpire Samir Bandekar. Look at this again. Get one run here, then come back for the second. But look at the back end of this. Look at the overthrow here. This, hopefully, the angle will catch it. Look at this throw. And I tell you what, it was above his head. Put it there. It was probably 10 feet in the air, but directly in line with Samir Bandekar. So that is something to pay attention to. I don't know if those of you who've never been hit with a cricket ball in that fashion can probably consider yourselves lucky. That has happened to me. It is absolutely no fun. Any event, 3 runs from the first ball and then a dot to have the second ball bowled. This is the third over being bowled here by Zishan Maksud. Good figures so far for him, as you'd expect. 2.2 overs, 1 for 18. Cut away, but straight to backward point, no run. Zishan Maksud continuing. We started talking about what, first of all, I fell on the sword and said that I got some information wrong yesterday, because the event or the game yesterday was not exactly win and you're in, because I started making this point. The Central Division has more teams than the other divisions in the league. And so instead of the top 2 going in automatically, all the other divisions have the top 2 finishers in the league going into the playoffs. But there's an additional layer for the Central Division where the last team that goes in, number 1 automatically goes in, but then there's always a playoff between the number 2 and the number 3 team. As of right now, the playoff would, if it happened this very second at 12:02 Central Time on Sunday, that third place or the number 2, number 3 playoff game would be between Kings 11 Dallas and the Dallas X4 Giants in a rematch of yesterday. Talk about how exciting that would be. But the wild card is the Metroplex Tracers. The Metroplex Tracers are on 10 points. Kings 11 Dallas are on 12 points. Dallas X4 Giants are on 11 points. And so the Metroplex Tracers, as we speak, are playing in Pearland, Texas, against the Lone Star Athletics. If the Metroplex Tracers win that game, they jump over the X4 Giants and they jump into the number 3 spot. And in fact, they'd be number 2, because even though they'd have the same number of points as Kings 11 Dallas, Kings 11 Dallas has an inferior net run rate. So the Metroplex Tracers, if they win today, become the number 2 team. That drops Kings 11 Dallas to number 3. Good night, X4 Giants. And then that third place, or the second playoff game, the second playoff position, would be played between Kings 11 Dallas and the Metroplex Tracers. A lot of different moving parts. It sounds more confusing. In fact, I'm probably making it more confusing than it actually is. The bottom line is this: is that ball is driven square, should get to the boundary, goes away for 4. The bottom line is this: Kingsmen, Chicago Kingsmen are your number 1 team. If the Metroplex Tracers win today, then they play the Kings 11 Dallas for the chance to win or to get to the playoffs, to be that number 2 team. If the Metroplex Tracers lose, then the Kings 11 Dallas play the Dallas X4A Giants. The winner of that game becomes the number 2 team. So in any event, we are going to have a number 2 versus a number 3 team, or match rather, and that match will be played in this stadium. As of right now, it will be either tomorrow, if it is the Kings 11 and Dallas X4A Giants, or I would think it would be Tuesday if it's going to be Kings 11 Dallas and the Metroplex Tracers. A lot of moving parts, but let's just say that the action is going to be very impressive the rest of the way. Look at a few highlights here. Those are 5 wides, and there's a couple of shots being played early. Good short deliveries from the opening pair. That's the end of Ariakanantha, who dragged one onto his stumps. Proper shot down the ground. And Naman Anwar, I think, played a couple of really nice shots, but then picks out backward square leg to give a wicket to Mr. Agaste Takpire. And this one here is a good clean catch in the deep by Utkarsh Srivastava. And unfortunately, walking across too far that time, Adnit Jam losing his stumps or losing his wicket. That goes away for 5. Joshua Kind and Saif Badar looking to change the conversation and get things going in the direction that they need for it to. So, needless to say, a lot of different moving parts, but at the end of it, at the end of over number 13, the score is 71 for 4. So Zishan Maksud into the attack to bowl his final over. Saif Badar just knocking the ball around right now, essentially being in, let's call it 3rd gear, not necessarily looking to be too aggressive just yet. Joshua Kind. Eight from 13, Saif Badar 13 from 11. Oh, stumping opportunity here, but not out. Good delivery. That's the left arm orthodox bowler's dream. Drifting in from around the wicket and then pitching and leaving the right-hander. I wonder if we'll have the chance to take a look at that again, because that's the type of delivery that you want to see. We'll take a look at it after this delivery, because it's the kind of dream delivery that you get from a left-arm orthodox bowler. Quicker through the air this time. Cut away to backward point, no run. Look at this delivery here. Drift turn, goes away from the bat. I'll tell you what, though, that's a quick piece of work by the keeper. And unfortunately for the bowling side, I say unfortunately, that's very judgmental, but fortunately for Joshua Kind, unfortunately for the Michigan team, that back foot remained in the crease. So we'll take a look at how things develop the rest of the way. Played down the ground here. And for a long time, this game has sort of ebbed and flowed, maybe you're starting to see where Saif Badar is going to do something special. Here we see on the replay again. Look at this. Goes past the outside edge. Watch that back foot. Kind of hard to see from that specific angle, but oh, well, the stumps are broken right before Josh Kine lifted his foot. Okay, take a look at this again. And we're not quite seeing it in the way that it should be, but from that angle, it just might have been. Okay, this might give us a better shot. Stumps are broken. One more frame. One more frame. There. The stumps are broken, and then the back foot comes up. It cannot be any closer than that. Obviously, with that angle, it's a little bit tough to tell, but the back foot was lifted almost exactly at the time that the stumps were broken. But in umpire Samir Bandeker's mind, that back foot was on the ground at the point that the stumps were broken, and then maybe a tenth of a second after is when that back foot came up in the air. As I said yesterday, if you were listening, sometimes the show off of the air is better is better than the show on the air, and the less said about that, the better. 75-4 is your score at the end of over number 14. Anyway, so Saif Badar, 15 from 13. Josh Kind, 9 from 16. Down the leg side, and it's going to be wide. Oh, my goodness. So get through over number 14. A pretty straightforward over. Good spell bowled by Zishan Maksud. His figures for the day, I think, read like the type of bowler that you know him to be. Zishan Maksud, 4 overs, 1 for 22. Played into the offside. Joshua Kind. This should be an easy 2 runs. Coming back for that second run here, Joshua Kind. I'm sorry, Saif Badar is the one who played the shot. But Joshua Kind immediately committing to that second run, so that's what you want to see. And with 5 balls remaining here in over number 15, the man bowling currently is Agasti Takpire. Saw him bowl 1 over before, coming back in now bowling from the northern end of the ground. His first over was from the south. Played back to the bowler, no run. And long way to go here the rest of the way. You're going to be struggling to get anything in the range of, say, 120, because at this stage, your scoring rate is not anything near what it needs to be to get to that type of number. So as of right now, scoring rate is 5.44. That projects to a score of 109. Clipped into the deep with Karshavastava. Good fielding overall, but as of right now, you've gotten to the point where you've gotten into a bit of a hole. Back to you, Mr. Takpire. Looks to go big. Joshua Kind doesn't get anything on it. And so they start falling behind just a little bit here. The run rate down to 5.39. Agasti Takpire now 12 runs conceded in his 1 over and 12 balls. See what happens here with these last couple of deliveries. Skied. This is going to be a catch. Joshua Kind is already walking because he knows exactly what happened got under one. Pretty simple catch, taking that extra cover inside the circle. Wicket number 5 is down. And that's the end of the day for Josh Kind with the bat. Score is 79 for 5. Take a look at this again. Just skying and don't see anything there that would indicate deviation of the seam. So I want to see whether or not you see that again. Looking at that replay, don't see anything there that would indicate anything other than probably just late on the shot. So the 5th wicket is down. So half of the side is back in the pavilion, and you do have some work to do now, as this is going to be the captain, I believe, Abimani Lambo. Yep, Abimani Lambo, the captain, with 1 ball to go here in over number 15, joins Saif Badar, 18 from 16. And things get more and more tricky here for St. Louis. Last ball. Appeal. Not given. For me, I think that's bouncing a little bit high. So that is the end of a successful over. This young man, Agasti Takpiri, has taken 2 wickets in the 2 overs that he's bowled. Look at this. That's a great delivery. Look at that swing. That is swinging down and maybe just a little bit high, but that in swing, Abimani Lamba would appreciate that, because that's exactly the type of delivery that he bowls. In swingers to the right-hander. Last 5 overs coming up, 79 for 5. So Kiran Kumar Reddy Vade will be bowling over number 16. Should just be a single here. Almost a one-sided or one-handed shot from Saif Badar. Now 20 from 18. Do you put yourself in the position here, Saif Badar, of just grabbing the bull by the horns and saying, let's see if I can get us to something around 140? Do I just go into hitting mode? Oh, cheeky, that is deliberate, and that is a lovely shot for 4. That is absolutely deliberate. Just going onto the back foot, opening the face, and running it behind point. I say behind point. It's very, very fine. Too fine for the fielder, short third. And Saif Badar, look at this. After he plays the shot, just does not even bother running, because he knows that that's going away across this lightning fast outfield for 4. So Kiran Vade back into the attack. And I think you've seen evidence where he can essentially be very tricky, but that was an expert piece of batting you just saw by Saif Badar. Now a single down the ground. So a couple of runs starting to flow in this over. See exactly how we go along here. Kiran Vade with 3 balls remaining here in over. Make that 2 balls remaining in over number 16. Now 1 ball after that single. So let's see exactly what you do the rest of the way here. 9 runs from this over already. 88 runs on the board. 9 and over from here takes you to 126. 10 and over from here takes you to 130. Still very much a below par score, but it might be good enough to win this game off the back foot. And that is a dot that closes things out in over number 9. End of 9, the score is 88 for 5. Idiot for 5. Abimani Lamba and Saif Batter are your batters. Abimani Lamba 1 from 3. Saif Batter 26 from 20. And it feels like it should be the Saif Batter show sometime soon. In the meantime, Agasti Takpira continuing. Lovely shot, clipping this into the deep. Should be a couple of runs here. Just jogging for that second run, because he knows he essentially played it the way that he wanted to. Abimani Lamba. In fact, that was Saif Badar who played the shot. My apologies. So, Saif Badar, good looking shot to start over number 16. Make that over number 17. Couple of runs into the deep. So he now moves up to 28 from 21. Interesting. Right before that ball was bowled, he took a step down. Saif Badar looking to shorten the length, or I should say make the ball that is short of length into a drivable ball. So right before Agasti Takpiri delivered that ball, that huge step down the track by Saif Badar, this time the young man might want to start paying attention to the footwork of a batter. It's very, very difficult as a fast bowler to make that adjustment. But the idea would be, if you see the batter come down, then you also shorten your length. Played into the offside, no run. And I talked about that because that is something that's very difficult to master. Because as a fast bowler, you're running in, you're trying to not overstep, and all the things that are going through your mind, about the last thing that is possible is for you to also be watching the feet of the batter. But the best bowlers in the world, the best fast bowlers in the world are able to do that. Adjust the length of the delivery based on what the batter is doing. If the batter comes down and takes a step toward you, then you pull the step back, or you pull the length back. That is a little too straight, whipped away behind square for 4. Welcome runs. Abimani Lambo wants that. He probably wants a few more of them because, again, you've gotten to the point where you're in a bit of a hole and you need something to get you something toward that sort of 140 or so mark. As of right now, it would be very difficult. But on balance, you've gotten yourself into a tricky position. You do have the batter at the crease who might be able to do that for you, though. So we'll pay attention to whether or not Saif Badar is able to do that. Stroke down too long off. That should be the end. No, one more ball remaining in the over. So you've gotten yourself into a bit of a tricky position, but you might try to find a way to work yourself out of it. You're in with one ball here remaining in over number 17. Off the back foot, gets it in the gap, goes away for 4. Saif Badar now into the 30s, and that shot brings up the 100. Long way to go for respectability, but you absolutely will love the 100 runs on the board, a psychological advantage to you, and that's a good looking shot. Pulled away into the deep, goes away for 4. 12 runs coming from the over, an expensive one for Augusta Takpiri. End of over number 17. The score is 100 for 5. Four runs to start over number 18. A little bit of a flurry in the runs here. I think you've gotten yourself into a good position. Maybe if not to sort of hit the ground running, at least to get something going in the direction that you want it to. Good looking shot, opening the face and running it behind square. So Abhimanyu Lamba needs to stay with Saif Badar. 10 from 7 for the captain. Saif Badar 33 from 23. Slower delivery. That's well bowled. And it's going to be Vedant Pathak who is back into the attack, bowling here over number 18. A 4 and a single to start over number 18. Vedant Pathak 2.2 overs, 1 for 13. And boy, maybe you'd think Vedant Pathak would bowl over numbers 18 and 20. Over number 19, I would not be surprised if it wasn't Omar Farooq who comes back on. Omar Farooq versus Saif Badar would be must-watch TV. Must-see TV, if you will. So a good comeback after the 4 to start the over. Couple of more economical deliveries, one a dot, the other a single. Saif Badar 33 from 24. And you get yourself somewhere around 120. 120 requires a run a ball from here. Saif Badar would have to think that he can go higher than a run a ball the rest of the way. Lofted into the deep. Who is out there? Straight to mid wicket, and that is a wicket. So that does not go the way Saif Badar wanted it to. It was into his pads and playing, I think, a pretty, I don't know if it was a casual shot, but he didn't put much power into it. Dragging it from outside the line of off stump, and a pretty straightforward catch taken there at deep mid wicket. So that is the end of Saif Badar. Maybe that is the end of anything resembling a score around 150, 140. With the batters coming in the rest of the way, things become that much more difficult to accelerate when the person who I referred to earlier is likely their best batter, at least one of the two best batters, has been dismissed. Good innings for Saif Badar, 33 from 24, but that is the end of his day. Now, I believe this is Mohamed Ilyas who's coming in. Mohamed Ilyas is not necessarily a technical correct batter, but he is a big, strong, fast bowler, and he can hit the long ball. So again, assuming that this is Mohamed Ilyas, and it's a little bit difficult to see with him with the helmet on. And there's Mohamed Ilyas. So Mohamed Ilyas, I think, when he came in yesterday, put together a quick lightning innings of around, I think, 38 from 20 balls, if I remember correctly. So you would absolutely love something like that here if you're the St. Louis Americans. So Mohamed Ilyas, interestingly, fast bowler to fast bowler is potentially a matchup that you could see here if it's Mohamed Ilyas against Omar Farooq, who I believe should be bowling over number 19. 105 for 6 is your score. 2 deliveries remaining in over number 18. So, needless to say, things become that much more tricky. Here's a good delivery. Wave and a miss. Vedant Pathak into his 18th, make that into his 3rd over. And You're running out of opportunities to positively impact the scorecard here. And just one ball remaining here in over number 18. 13 balls remaining in the innings. And with these 13 balls, things become that much more difficult. Swipe and a miss, consecutive dots, and a closeout over number 18. Remember, the very first ball of this over went for 4 runs. Since that, just a single and a wicket. So the last 2 overs coming up, scores 105 for 6. Umar Farouk, 3 overs, none for 12. 3 hostile overs, using the short ball to devastating effect. And he'll be bowling to captain Abimanu Lamba. My goodness, it's going to be an interesting matchup. There used to be the fast bowling fraternity where fast bowlers didn't bounce each other. I think that is a thing of the past. And I think that any way possible that Umar Farouk can intimidate his fellow fast bowler and the opposing team's captain, he'd be looking to do that. Good sharp delivery. Played into the offside, no run. To Umar Farouk. Make that Abimanu Lamba 11 from 8. 2 fast bowlers at the crease. Mohamed Ilyas being the second, meaning the one at the non-striker's end. And a hostile spell, Umar Farouk, I think has been brilliant. Again, just got himself in trouble earlier, bowling a couple of short deliveries, both bouncing above the head of the batter in the same over. So that second one was adjudged to be a no ball. But that's the kind of pace that he has, and he certainly can impact the game in that way. In the air, running back is mid-off. Does he have a chance? No, it doesn't come anywhere close. And he would have wanted to have done better than that. Ball is in the air for a really long time. But I tell you, instead of backpedaling the way that the NFL or football, American football, defensive backs do, you're better off turning and actually running while keeping your eye on the ball, because backpedaling like that, you don't necessarily have a lot of control, and you certainly can't run as quickly as you can if you turn and run. So that's something to pay attention to. Don't know that necessarily he needs the coaching, certainly not from me, but I think he stands a better chance of catching that ball if that's the way that he does it. Outside edge found, down to deep third. And so this is going to be an interesting matchup. Mohamed Ilyas against Umar Farouk. I would think easily each of them is the fastest bowler for their respective teams. Umar Farouk is really bowling quickly. I would estimate that those last 2 balls that he's bowled have been quicker than how he bowled in his first spell. And he was bowling very rapidly in his first spell. But especially that last ball that took the outside edge and went down to deep third. That, to me, looks like it is rapid, and a little bit of extra zip in his wrist to get that additional leverage, to get that ball flying out of his wrist. So let's see what he does here, bowling now to Mohamed Ilyas. Short ball. This is what I started saying much, much earlier, and then I was distracted. If you have my heritage from the West Indies, Jamaica to be exact, and if you grew up in the 1970s, this is something that excites you, because look at this sharp delivery. Look at Mohamed Ilyas playing that hook shot. That ball was by him before the bat even came up. So that, for me, is a brilliant short delivery. and he does have that pace. Now, I missed whether or not the umpires designated that as a short ball, meaning one for the over. There are two fielders in the deep on the leg side, both behind square, so they're expecting another short ball here from Umar Farouk. Short, and it's skied in the deep, and it is out of the stadium. What a response by Muhammad Ilyas. Now, the previous short deliveries had pace. It was pace on, very quick. This is a short ball, but he took the pace off, and I think he will not do that again. It's a slower short delivery, and Muhammad Ilyas was ready for it, whacking it over that deep mid-wicket area, over the top of the player dugouts for what is, believe it or not, the first 6 of the innings. Muhammad Ilyas will be very proud of that shot. And again, I did not see whether or not it was designated. The previous delivery was designated as the one short ball for the over. If it were the one short ball for the over, then obviously you can't bowl anymore without it being a no ball. But were it not to have been designated as a short delivery, then I would imagine that this next ball would be as quick and as short as Umar Farouk can bowl. So let's see what happens on this last ball, because nobody likes being hit out of the stadium for 6. And certainly, if you went with the slower delivery, the slower bouncer, and it was punished, you don't expect to see another slower bouncer. Whether it's short or full, this one will be rapid. Rapid it was, and Muhammad Ilyas is very irritated at the fact that he missed that. A dot ball closes things out in over number 19. A hostile spell for Umar Farouk comes to an end. The score is 114 for 6. Look at this again. He was on the back foot, Muhammad Ilyas, and look at that reaction. On the back foot because he was expecting another short ball. And when you're that trapped on the back foot, then you don't get to catch up to the ones that are full. Good hostile spell from Umar Farouk. And his figures for the day are 4 overs, none for 21, but to me that does not in any way describe the impact that he had on this game. In any event, here is the last over coming up, and it's going to be bowled here by Vedant Pathak, bowling now to Abhimanyu Lamba. In the air, in the deep, and another simple catch taken. Boy, they make it look easy in the outfield. Pretty straightforward catch, that one. That is wicket number 6. Make that wicket number 7. The captain goes 114 runs on the board. Just last 3 coming up here. Well, I don't know that you'll have time for 3 wickets, but certainly I think you've seen evidence where the charge that you were looking for at the end of the innings did not come to fruition. Abhimanyu Lamba dismissed 14 from 12. Muhammad Ilyas still at the wicket, 6 from 5. Interestingly, his only scoring shot was a 6. Look at that ball, just not quite getting a hold of it. Abhimanyu Lamba, and a pretty straightforward catch taken in the deep. Catch taken by Ahmad Alam. And so now the last 5 balls coming up in the over. St. Louis Americans 114 for 7. Vedant Pathak into his last over. 3 wickets on the day for Vedant Pathak. So good returns from him regardless of what happens the rest of the way here. Goes past the outside edge yet again. Could it possibly be that you bowl a maiden for the 20th over? It would be interesting, but let's see what happens here. Last 4 balls coming up. The new batter is going to be Baladitya Kutula. Talked about him earlier, the young 15-year-old. He's a left-arm fast bowler. You'll see him later on, but as of right now, his job is to get bat to ball. Short delivery. He does get a single here, so you'll like this. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Muhammad Ilyas, who has shown the ability to hit the long ball, what does he do with these last 3? And I would like to think that if you look at the scorecard and see 115, You don't think 115 should challenge very much the opposition, so maybe you see whether or not you can get something around 125. So you manufacture a 6 and a 4 from 2 of these last 3 balls. Skied, height, no distance. And taken, oh, it was taken. Did he put it down? He put it down. Oh, he had a long time to think about it. The ball stayed in the air for a very long time. But that's a catch, very frankly, that should have been taken. And so the fielder running back in that position, that's actually Vedant Pathak. I'm sorry, that is Agasti Takpiri. Saw him bowling earlier. And then he is immediately moved from that spot by the captain, Zishan Maksud. Slower delivery, played down the ground. What can you have here? They'll get 1. No, they'll go all the way for 4. So that absolutely helps you. So conceded the 2 runs earlier from a ball that really should have been caught. Then a 4. And so this last ball coming up now could potentially be one where the batter, Mohamed Ilyas, is looking to swing for the fences. Already has 12 against his name. Here's the last ball. In the area, mid-wicket, or in the cow corner area, coming back for the second run. And they'll get to, thought for a split second about going back for a third. Of course, doesn't make a difference at this part of the innings anyway. But a decent over by the standards that were set earlier in the innings. 123 for 7 is what you end up with. There's a scorecard. One man stood tall, Saif Badar, 33 from 25. The next highest score after Saif Badar was extras with 19. And you have a couple of batters with 14. Naman Anwar at the top with 13. 14 by Abhimanyu Lamba and Mohamed Ilyas himself. But all in all, I think a total that you're not necessarily doing cartwheels over. For the bowlers, I think they were good, aggressive, hostile up front. For me, the best of them up front was Umar Farooq. Talked about how he used the short ball to his advantage. And the rest of the bowlers supporting, particularly Vedant Pathak, 4 overs, 3 for 22. Agasti Takpiri, the young man, 2 for 24. Take a quick look at these highlights. And I think you'll see evidence that there were not a whole lot in terms of aggressive shots. Only 9 4s and 1 6, and that 6 was struck by Mohamed Ilyas himself. Naman Anwar and the Jam brothers tried their best at the top of the order. That was a good shot, but it's straight to the fielder, backward square leg. The end of the day for Naman Anwar. And then this is Adnit Jam raising one into the outfield that is taken by Utkarsh Shrivastava. That one, clean bowling at Arnav Jam behind his back. And glanced away here by Saif Badar. Josh Kind was out there for a while. He tried as well, but this is a pretty straightforward catch and a good catch. He's not going to drop that one. And look at that expert piece of batting by Saif Badar. And look at a bit of in swing to get a couple more good shots here. But at the end of the day, just not enough runs to play with. This, a straightforward catch. The end of Saif Badar, I think, signaled the end of anything really competitive. Mohamed Ilyas tried while he was there. Saw that big 6 that he hit earlier. But here, the pretty straightforward catch. And down the ground, I think the shots that you saw are indicative of a side that really, while they tried, didn't necessarily get this opportunity to do much other than put that 123 on the board. So, short break for us, about 15 minutes or so. And when we come back, the Michigan Cricket Stars will be chasing down a score of 124. See you soon.
With insurance plans, one size does not fit all. Your coverage might not be enough, or there might be gaps you didn't know about. At Bima, we build a plan from the best options available for you, for your home, your car, your health, and everything else. At Bima, we believe better insurance means assurance.
At US Wide Financial, we know how hard it is to navigate the mortgage process. Don't get lost down the rabbit hole of pressure sales, burdensome paperwork, and hidden fees. US Wide. No surprises, no tricks, no need to call. Check out our rates online at uswidefinancial.com.
Hi, we're Clear. We're making the home loan process easier and more transparent. At Clear.loans, you can learn as you go. Build your own personalized quote, compare options, and instantly see all the costs. No hidden fees, no surprises. Experience it for yourself at Clear.loans.
With insurance plans, one size does not fit all. Your coverage might not be enough, or there might be gaps you didn't know about. At Bima, we build a plan from the best options available for you, for your home, your car, your health, and everything else. At Bima, we believe better insurance means assurance.
At US Wide Financial, we know how hard it is to navigate the mortgage process. Don't get lost down the rabbit hole of pressure sales, burdensome paperwork, and hidden fees. US Wide. No surprises, no tricks, no need to call. Check out our rates online at uswidefinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Grand Prairie Cricket Stadium, Grand Prairie, Texas. This is the final innings of the regular season in the stadium. Metroplex Tracers, we'll talk about them later, what they're doing down in Pearland, but as of right now, the St. Louis Americans and Michigan Cricket Stars are locking horns. It's the Michigan Cricket Stars who are going to be looking to see whether or not they can overhaul a target of 124. They need 124 in 20 overs, make that 19 after that first ball bowled by the captain, Abhimanyu Lamba. Now, opening batters, Abhinav Sikaram, the left-hander, is at the non-striker's end. Still awaiting confirmation on who the batter is, who is on strike. But again, big picture, just another 124 balls, 124 runs needed. Opening the batting with a left-hander and a right-hander is always something that you want to be able to do. And if you have the opportunity, to have two batters at the top of the order who can control things, that's an advantage. But then it becomes even much more of an advantage if one is a lefty and one is a righty, because then that puts you in a position as a bowling unit where you're having to constantly switch the line of the bowlers, and that generally makes it difficult for the batting side, or the bowling side rather. Look at that delivery off of the outside edge. Really, I said outside edge. That is less of an outside edge and more of a lofted extra cover drive for 6. So got confirmation that opening batter is Ahmad Alam. Ahmad Alam opening along with Abhinav Sikaram. And Ahmad Alam it is who goes big over the offside for the first 6 of the innings. So a couple of dots and then a huge 6. And it just gave him a little bit of width. The captain, Abhimanyu Lamba, typically bowls in-swingers to the right-hander. That ball, as you see on the replay, did not swing at all. Just came on with the arm, and one of the easier balls to put away for Ahmad Alam. So that, for me, is a stroke of class and a shot that essentially announces to the world that we're not just here to scratch around and win this game maybe in the 19th or 20th over. That shot says if the ball is there to be hit, we're going to be going for a shot. So that strike is a strike of authority. It reduces the deficit to 118. 2 balls remaining here in the first over. Maybe at the end of the over, we'll take a peek as to what is going on down in Pearland in a match that has huge consequences. Look at this again. 6 more in the stands this time. Oh my goodness. Ahmad Alam is taking full toll of the bowling to open the innings here. Target is only 124, and if he keeps going like this match is not going to last 10 overs. Stroked it down the ground, elegant lofted drive, and it goes away for 6. So Ahmad Alam, 12 from 5. Abhinav Sikaram watching the damage from the non-striker's end. Young man who just fielded that ball. Didn't know if you caught him in the camera, but he is the brother of the keeper, Arya Kananta. And after that, boy, that alone has created some confusion in the field, because now there's a fielder dropping back to fine leg, very fine leg. And in fact, he was so fine that he's just now moved a little bit square. But that appears to be a change in plan. Not going to bowl the full length anymore that get hit down the ground. Short into the body is what you're looking for. I tell you what, it was a double bluff, because he went for the Yorker. It was this punch to mid-off. No run. Productive first over. 12 without loss. So again, let's take a peek at what's going on down in Pearland. This match taking place between the Lone Star Athletics and the Metroplex Tracers. As a reminder, if the Metroplex Tracers win this game, they are in the 2-3 match taking place this week right here in the stadium. If the Dallas Exforia Giants are actually on the sideline right now looking to see what happens, because if the Lone Star Athletics win this game, then it will be the matchup between the Dallas Exforia Giants and Kings 11 Dallas. As of right now, the Lone Star Athletics is batting first in Pearland. 2 deliveries remaining in over number 19. The Lone Star Athletics batting first are 125 for 5. 125 for 5. The batters are Cameron Sheik. Sushant Madani was just dismissed. So Cameron Sheik is the batter at the crease right now, almost to the point where you're starting to think who is going to do what for the Metroplex Tracers. They obviously have not come into bat yet. To me, 126 feels like a far below par score. And 126, let's say they end up after 20 overs at around 140, 145, then the Metroplex Tracers would only have to score something around 146 to win. That, to me, at least at this stage in the match, feels like advantage Metroplex Tracers. And if the Metroplex Tracers themselves are on top, and if they end up winning this game, then they are the other team in the 2 versus 3 matchup. As of right now, that 2 would be the Dallas, make that Kings 11 Dallas. So a lot to play for, a long way of saying that there is going to be, let's call it a play-in match sometime this week, either tomorrow or Tuesday most likely. And it's going to be likely between the Dallas, make that Kings 11 Dallas, and either the Metroplex Tracers or the Dallas Exforia Giants. As of right now, as we speak, that is going to be very tricky. My sense is that it would be the Metroplex Tracers based on how this half of the game has gone so far. But we will keep an eye on this game. In fact, we may keep an eye on this game that we're describing now more than the one that we're actually covering, as it's going to be Mohamed Ilyas, who is back into the attack, or is into the attack, and bowling here to Abhinav Sikaram. The first delivery was wide. The next one found the edge. The third one finds the top of leg stump. So good, sharp, quick delivery from Mohamed Ilyas. The first one was wide. The second one was 4 off the outside edge. The third one sends back Abhinav Sikaram. That is a good, sharp, quick delivery. Take a look at this. Oh, he moved across too far. My goodness. I want to see that again. I wonder what guard he was taking. That will be something to pay attention to. If we can get the view of this straight down the wicket, I want to see what guard Abhinav Sikaram took to face Mohamed Ilyas from bowling around the wicket. Let's see here. He's batting on off stump. Look at this. Look where that front foot is. That's in line with off stump. And then batting on off stump with a bowler who is bowling over the wicket. You expose the leg stump when you do that, and that is how he gets bowled behind his back. That is something that Abhinav Sikaram, who's a brilliant cricketer, would probably know to not do. If a right-handed pace bowler is bowling to you as a left-handed batter, your guard is probably needing to be on leg stump, if not outside the line of leg stump. Because from that angle, my goodness, it becomes essentially something that you should recognize, because you don't want the bowler to ever bowl you behind the line of off stump or behind the line of leg stump. So being bowled behind your back is tricky, but if you move over too far, boy, a pace bowler should never be able to bowl you behind your back. If you are, for example, facing an off spinner, and I'll talk more about that after this ball as the new batter is in. It's Utkar Shrivastava. So if you're facing an off spinner as a left-handed batter, and the off spinner is bowling over the wicket, and I don't know if we have time to go back to that other view that we just saw where he was bowled. If you're facing an off spinner that off spinner turns the ball away from you. Look at this. The ball from right here, he's all the way across there as opposed to being back on leg stump. That's the second line that I just drew is where you want to be standing. He's standing all the way out in front, meaning he's susceptible to being bowled behind his back. The only way that should ever happen to you as a batter is if you are able to face an off spinner, the off spinner turning the ball, pitching it outside leg stump, it goes behind you and then turns and hits the stumps. That's not ideal, but it's at least understandable. But a pace bowler should never be able to bowl a ball like that and bowl you behind your back. To me, that's just taking the wrong guard. And a long way to go in this young man's career. He'll be a brilliant cricketer probably for the next 20 or 25 years. But that's probably one that he wants a do-over on. Last ball coming up. Actually, 2 balls remaining in the over. Running this one down to deep third. And, oh my goodness, if I am not mistaken, that is Bala Cthulhu down at the boundary. I'm pretty sure I just saw him throw that ball 40 yards with his right hand. If it is him, that is amazing because he's a left-handed pace bowler, and that would mean he's ambidextrous. I want to confirm that. Maybe I'll drop a note to his father, Bhaskar. If you could drop me a note and let me know if he's actually ambidextrous, that would be a pretty amazing feat. But anyway, last ball coming up here, over number 2. In the air, just to the left of the fielder, square leg, and it's going to run away for 4. Not exactly the most accurately timed shot. In fact, not accurately timed in the sense that he didn't keep it down, but it was just inside and too square for the fielder at square leg, and it runs away for 4. So that is an eventful over. Had a couple of runs. You have 1 wicket, 10 runs in all. And at the end of over number 2, the score is 22 for 1. Let's take a look at this throw again. So the ball goes down to in the deep. And this, I am virtually certain, is Bala Cthulhu. Absolutely sure. Look at this. He's throwing that with his right arm. He's down on the boundary, and the throw comes in with 1 bounce. It bounces about 3 yards away from the keeper. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a left-handed fast bowler. So clearly he can throw with his left hand. To be able to throw left-handed and right-handed, that is a special talent. That does not happen very often. And bearing in mind, this young man is all of 15 years old. That is amazing. You don't see that very often. Very long time ago, not to make this about me, but I once had a teammate who could open the bowling left-handed or right-handed and could throw left-handed or right-handed. But bearing in mind that is such a rare feat, it is very difficult to accomplish. And I think that we'll see that when young Mr. Cthulhu comes on to bowl, it is something special to witness. Great delivery. Goes past Utkarsh Shrivastava. 1 from 5, Utkarsh Shrivastava. In his mind has not had, or in his words, actually having a chat with him this morning, not having had the best of tournaments, but this is a developmental tournament. In addition to being a tournament that you obviously want to win when you play, but more than anything else, you want the opportunity to continue to work on your game. And even if you have an off match or an off season even, you still have the opportunity to continue to develop. And that's something that he will keep in mind. Looking to pull this one away. Gets through Arya Kananta, and it's going to be 4 byes. So 4 byes. There's a signal from umpire Vishnu Pillai. Couple of dots and then 4 byes. So 3 deliveries into over number 3. Abhimanyu Lamba into his second over. shortish. Emmanuel Lamba doesn't necessarily have the pace of Mohamed Elias, for example. He's quick enough, Emmanuel Lamba, but does it more with a swing than with pace. Mohamed Elias is the more conventional pace bowler who just comes up, bends his back, and gives it everything that he has. Emmanuel Lamba more likely to be the one searching for swing. That's exactly what that was there. That ball is full. Utkarsh Srivastava looking for the drive. Not quite there for the drive. So a couple of dots after. In fact, there's been 5 dots, really. If you take away the buys are not the fault of the bowler. Certainly the fault of the keeper. So in cricket, for those who are let's say of a baseball mentality, a buy in cricket is like a pass ball in baseball, where the keeper or the catcher, if you will, to use baseball terms, doesn't collect the ball and it goes away where they can run runs. That's what a buy is, and so that's not the fault of the bowler. Well played, solid high front arm, defending it back to the bowler, in fact past the bowler to shorten it off. That is the end of the over. 4 runs coming from the over. Those 4 runs were the 4 buys that we're just talking about. End of over number 3, 26 for 1. Hey, how about this? My apologies. Sometimes the conversation off the air comes on the air. So, back to the action on the field. It's going to be Mohamed Elias to bowl his 4th over. Make that his 2nd over, the 4th of the innings. 102 balls remaining, 98 runs needed. So they started off in absolutely rapid fashion. 2 sixes in the first over from Ahmad Alam. But Abhinav Sikaram has been dismissed and the scoring rate has slowed down since then. Alam 16 from 7, facing up to Mohamed Elias, who is, again, the type of bowler who will come up, hit a full head of steam, and bowl as quick as you can. It would be an interesting competition to see who is a quicker bowler, Mohamed Elias or Umer Farooq. Because Umer Farooq is very quick. You saw that earlier. Has a short ball to disturb the batters, and on his day he can be brutal. But Mohamed Elias, who is not quite as tall as Umer Farooq, but is that short, skiddy type of bowler who also troubles the batters. This one is played down to short third, so a couple of dots. The first over went for 12 runs. The second over went for 10 runs. So 22 from the first 2, but then since then only 4 runs have scored, and those 4 runs were courtesy of a buy or 4 buys. So after the dismissal of Abhinav Sikaram, you've had a string of dots, 4 of them in over number 2. All of them in over number 3. Again, those 4 runs were 4 buys. And then 2 so far in over number 4. Short delivery. Short, quick delivery. Boy, that was rapid. And if I'm to answer the question that I just posed a couple of deliveries ago, who is quicker, Mohamed Elias or Umer Farooq? I don't know the answer to that question. Look at this ball. Rapid and climbing on Ahmad Alam. He's very strong down the ground, Ahmad Alam. You saw those 2 sixes that he hit in the first over, and I would imagine that based on those 2 shots, he's not going to see anything that is drivable. He might get something short of length or a genuine short ball. I don't think you're going to pitch anything up to him. Another short delivery hurts him with this one. Oh, it's a no ball though. Let's see what the no ball was about. I don't think that that's for a second short ball in the over, because I don't believe that it was the first one was signaled as such. And looking at his footwork now, I believe it was an overstep. Oh, that is great camera work right there. Yes, that here, you see that's where the line is there. Oh, it's not the best of lines, but something has to come down behind that line. And in my mind, he seemed to have overstepped completely. And so my apologies, that's not the cleanest line that you've ever seen seen drawn anywhere. But ultimately, it comes down to this. That was a no ball that you just saw for overstepping. There's a number of different types of no balls, but each results in a free hit. Here's a free hit. Short delivery in the air, taken by the keeper. Of course, no consequence there. So to translate what just happened in the last several minutes, or several seconds anyway, no ball, overstepping the crease. That's one of several types of no balls. Maybe if you'd want to know the details of the different types of no balls, we can go through that. But this next delivery, which is a free hit, I can tell you that that was probably the best short ball that he's bowled in this match. And just looping up off of the glove and caught by the keeper because of the fact that it's a free hit. He was not dismissed, but still good bowling by Mohamed Ilyas. Last two balls. Slower delivery. Played to mid-on. And so one ball remaining. What a brilliant comeback after the first couple of overs. In fact, after the first over. After the first 5 balls, 12 runs were on the board. And it looked as though Ahmad Alam was trying to end this game inside 10 overs before you got to the first water break. Well, the bowlers have sort of regained control of the proceedings in the last several balls, to include the last 2 overs. And even with the no ball that you just saw, still only 1 run has scored from this over. That 1 run being the no ball. So here's the last ball of over number 4. And it is going to be a dot. Excellent bowling by Mohamed Ilyas to continue the good work started by the captain, Abemmanuel Lamba, in over number 3. End of 3, make that end of 4. The score is 27 for 1.
Hi, we're Clear. We're making the home loan process easier and more transparent. At Clear.loans, you can learn as you go. Build your own personalized quote, compare options, and instantly see all the costs. No hidden fees, no surprises. Experience it for yourself at Clear.loans.
Abemmanuel Lamba back into the attack. First delivery. Played into the offside. They'll get a single. That's the first run off the bat in a really long time. Overall scoring rate for the innings is down to 6.72. Remember, it started out with 12 runs from the first 5 balls. And in the context where you're only chasing 124 runs, that is not, at least shouldn't be, of much concern. But you don't want to get tied down by the bowlers either. Looking for the big drive, Ahmad Alam, wanting to regain the dominance that he got from the first over. Huge drive and a miss here. So Abemmanuel Lamba, on balance, is doing really well. Look at this. Look at this drive. Wants to go big down the ground. And this replay here. Look at the swing. That gives you excellent confirmation. That is in swing. Oh, I want to see that one more time, because you had in swing and then you had movement off the seam. That becomes difficult. Look at this. Swinging in this way and then pitching and leaving. That is exactly what you want to see from a bowler. Look at this. Another one goes in the air, and the catch is taken, I believe, by Norman Anwar. Big wicket, the end of Ahmad Alam, and the score is 28 for 2. Candidly, my eyes were off the action on the field. as that play happened. So I'll be watching the replay with joy with the rest of you because I didn't see it happen live. Looking to go big. There's a shot and it's skied and on the edge of the circle. That is, in fact, Naminan War. He has great hands. He's not going to drop that. Second wicket goes down, and the dangerous Ahmad Alam has been removed. 3 deliveries into over number 5, and you have another wicket, 28 for 2. Well, the game has changed just a little bit. I don't know that you need to be worried in any way if you are the Michigan Cricket Stars. Certainly not with the man in your shot right now at the crease. Zishan Maqsood, former Oman national side captain, 37 years old. He's probably forgotten more about cricket than any of us can remember. But this becomes a difficult situation here because just a spot of bother, if you say, a little bit of concern in the Michigan Cricket Stars batting lineup. Now, this is going to be interesting. To me, this creates a bit of a quandary because obviously you want to be able to take wickets, and the way that you can take wickets is by putting catchers in position. First slip in, top right of your screen, and well left. And the reason why I'm highlighting that is because Abimanu Lamba is a swing bowler, and he typically swings it away from the left-handers. So he's atypical in that sense. Most right-handed fast bowlers swing the ball into the right-handers. Into the left-handers. He swings it away from the left-handers. So what he's doing here, Abimanu Lamba, is bowling around the wicket from the right of your screen, looking to have it going in, angling in toward the left-hander and having it swing away, which is why first slip is in position. And that's almost off the outside edge, collected by Arikanantha. So that's interesting, and I like that attacking approach. You have to take wickets. I think you win this game only by bowling out the opposition. So you want to be aggressive, particularly since Zishan Maqsood has only faced 2 deliveries. You want to be able to have him playing the ball on the front foot, and hopefully with that ball moving, swinging away, find the outside edge. And then there's a fielder down at deep third. So you have the catching opportunity and then also a defensive position to keep any runs from that side. Now, that whole plan that I just laid out does not work as well if you're going to bowl to his body. Joshua Kind after it. Joshua Kind is not quick enough. Goes away for 4. So all the best laid plans can go to waste if the line is wrong. That line going down the leg side, Zishan Maqsood helping himself to 4 runs. Look where this ball ends up from that line. Really, in honesty, that was not quite as bad a line as I thought it was at first glance. It was down the leg side. What you would say about that is that on that line, you probably want to be a little fuller because that ball is bouncing probably waist height, and that easily is put away on the leg side by the captain, Zishan Maqsood. End of over number 4, over 5 rather, scores 32 for 2. So we traveled down I-45 about 300 miles to Pearland, Texas. The Lone Star Athletics batting first, 138 for 6. The Metroplex Tracers are now batting. You are 4 deliveries into that match, and the score is 5 without loss. Aryan Tamala opening the batting along with Ansh Boje. They've opened the batting together for a while, and it is now going to be all eyes on Pearland if you want to know what's going on in the Central Division. Anyway, back to this game that we're following. And again, I highlighted this young man a number of ways before. This is now going to be Baladitya or Bala Kutula. Excellent young bowler. You saw him yesterday, and I was very impressed with him yesterday. But having known him for a number of years, I was shocked to find out that he's all of 15 years old. Excellent young bowler. Interestingly, had a chat this morning with his younger brother who is all of 8 years old, and I asked him if he plays cricket, and he says, "I'm not in the minor leagues yet," which I thought was an absolutely amazing response. And you will forgive me, young brother, I forgot your name. It's a little bit tricky. Maybe if you can text it to me, that I can repeat it on the air. But excellent family. And I've known Basker probably 20 years, his father. But excellent young cricketer, or young cricketers. One who is in the minor leagues, and one will probably make his debut next year sometime. In the meantime, 34 for 2. A couple of singles here off of the bat of Utkarsh Shrivastava and Zishan Maksud each. In the air, that is put away. Utkarsh Shrivastava likes that one. A little bit of width, and it carves it through cover for 4. So, again, by his own admission, Utkarsh Shrivastava, he's not had the best of seasons, but this is one that he wants. And it's also one that Balakutula will want to be closer to off stump. As a left-hander bowling over the wicket, that is an exact replica of what you want to bowl in terms of style of bowling. But from over the wicket, that length and that line is asking for trouble. You want that ball to be closer to the stumps, maybe right on off stump, threatening the outside edge of the bat. With the ball being that wide, you are at the mercy of how good the batter is, and Utkarsh Shrivastava is a good one. Now, overcorrection. He recognizes the fact that the last ball was too wide, so Balakutula going down the leg side with this one. Over adjustment, so the perfect ball to Utkarsh Shrivastava is somewhere between the first two, or the last two that he just bowled. And I'll tell you what, that's actually not far off from being a peach of a delivery. That ball swung appreciably. I want to take another look at that. Look at this. It's aiming toward middle stump and then swings down the leg side. Yes, you want that ball to start on off stump, but that ball on off stump is going to do a lot of damage with Utkarsh Shrivastava working this next one into the leg side. But that was an excellent, excellent delivery. And I want to be able to see that again, because the type of delivery that you want to bowl as a left-hander, watch this. From over the wicket, you want the ball to be swinging in, and it's going to curl in that direction. Look how that ball curls. There. If you start that same ball outside the line of off stump and having it curl back maybe there, it becomes so much of a dangerous delivery. So that's encouraging from the standpoint of what Balakutula is trying to do. Now, having this one go down the leg side now to the captain, Zishan Maksud, it complicates things when you are a bowler bowling to a lefty and a righty at the same time. I talked about that earlier. Look where this ball goes. Now this one, and I'll tell you what, this is high-class bowling. And it sounds sort of counterintuitive when I say that, when he sprayed a couple of wides down the leg side. But that last ball swung the opposite direction from the way that the previous one did. This one is also wide, and so he'll have to fix the line. But he is getting movement. That ball is moving in the air. He's showing it an ability to swing it in both directions, Balakutula. So Saif Badar doing the right thing, just going over to his young fast bowler and saying, hey, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Or what do you think the Texans are going to do today? They're down 7-0 the last time I saw. You're trying to say anything but what is on his mind, which is, I'm spraying the ball over the place. Sometimes the best thing that you can do is distract the batter, or the bowler rather, and that typically helps to get him back on track. Here's the next ball. Wrapping him on the pad. No real chance of that being given LBW, I don't think. But the adjustment obviously having been made. Let's see where this ball is going. I'll tell you what, it is going down, but not missing by a whole lot. If there's a fourth stump there, it's probably hitting, let's call it that second leg stump. So relatively expensive over underway here. 11 runs conceded so far. Here's the last ball. Played into the leg side. So it finishes well here, Balakatula. It's an interesting throw coming from the short mid-wicket position. But that's the end of over number 6, end of the power play. The score is 42 for 2. So 42 for 2. And it's going to be new bowler, Ryan Taj. Ryan Taj, who's a left-arm orthodox bowler. And the last time I saw Ryan Taj was in the Houston Youth Premier League tournament that took place maybe a month or so ago, obviously in Houston. And so Ryan Taj is yet another one of the youngsters that I talked about who will feature in this tournament and in U.S. cricket for hopefully a couple of decades. Ryan Taj, if I had to estimate his age, I wouldn't know exactly, but he played in the Houston Youth Tournament a couple of weeks ago, or about a month ago, so he can't be more than 17 years old or so. Left arm orthodox. Bowling around the wicket to the right-handed Utkarsh Shrivastava. This is an interesting move now. So let's see exactly what he can do here with the left-handed Zishan Maksud. Because Zishan Maksud, with all his talent, all his experience, is up against a very young man. So let's see exactly how well he can do here. Stroking it into the short extra cover area, no run. In the air over the top of cover, but there's coverage out there in the deep. That is well fielded, and you're essentially, the runs, for the most part, have dried up, but you're doing a good job at least keeping wickets intact. Again, the score that you're chasing is not a very big one. Half-hearted appeal for a leg before, but no real chance of that being given out LBW, I don't think. So back over to you, Utkarsh Shrivastava. Let's see what we see here on this LBW shout. Yeah, going down the leg side. Fair decision. And this one played back past the bowler himself. No run. In fact, 4 single is what I meant. My apologies. Well, a very long way of saying you're a long way down in terms of where you're trying to get to. And if you ask me for a win predictor at this stage, I would think, especially with the two who are at the crease, Zishan Maksud and Utkarsh Shrivastava, both of them are brilliant cricketers, one much more experienced than the other. But with that single going down the ground, you put yourself in the position now with 46 runs on the board, just another 7 to 8 needed in exactly 7 to 8 balls. So exactly run a ball needed the rest of the way. End up over number 7, 46 for 2.
With insurance plans, one size does not fit all. Your coverage might not be enough, or there might be gaps you didn't know about. At Bima, we build a plan from the best options available for you, for your home, your car, your health, and everything else. At Bima, we believe better insurance means assurance.
So things get more and more interesting in Pearland, Texas. And they get more interesting because at first I looked at the scorecard and I thought I just needed to refresh my browser. Well, I've refreshed the browser and the score is still at the same place. 5 without loss, which tells me that it is raining in Pearland, Texas, or in some ways being affected by the weather. And so not only is the target a below par target, 138 for 6 on a good batting wicket in Pearland. So under normal circumstances, 139 is very chaseable. But if you throw Duckworth Lewis into the mix, and that is punched down the ground, catchable, and taken. That is the end of Zishan Maqsood. Interesting looking shot. That's a great catch. I believe that's Adnit Jam. I want to confirm that shortly. But look at that celebration. And yes, that is Adnit Jam. Look at this shot. Doesn't put a lot into it. It's just a check drive. Boy, you do that. When you do that, you probably want to keep the ball down, or you give it the full-blooded drive, and Zishan Maqsood more than capable of doing that, hitting that down the ground. So that is a wicket. Feels like a very soft wicket, that dismissal. And we'll take a look at that again at some point. But going back to my previous thought, in Pearland, the Metroplex Tracers are 5 without loss. The fact that that scorecard has not changed in about 10 minutes tells me that it's raining. Get a look at that shot again from Zishan Maqsood. And the other thing that I saw on that, look at after he takes the catch. Watch this here. Watch his reaction. Don't know if we can go back and watch Adnit Jam's reaction after he takes that catch, because he's pointing to the bowler as if to say, the plan that we just talked about previous over, that plan worked. Look at this again. Look when he takes the catch. Down the ground, moving to his right, takes the catch, and then look at this. See what we talked about? That's what I'm talking about. That worked. We had a plan in place, and it's good to see a plan come to fruition. And that's really interesting. I really wonder what that plan would have been. I don't know that that plan would have been to induce Zishan Maqsood into a pretty soft dismissal, but that's what you have. So, new batters in, Kiran Vade, joining Utkarsh Srivastava, who is now the senior partner. And the Michigan Cricket Stars are 46 for 3. And in fact, a dot ball from the first ball of the over, and then a wicket on the second ball. So all of a sudden, you have a couple of developments in your favor here if you're the St. Louis Americans. And by the way, we have to talk about the fact that this is a very young side. But speaking earlier this morning to a man who has done yeoman's work for cricket throughout the country, in addition to being the father of both Adnit and Arnav Jam, we're talking about Ajay Jam, he said, I think the exact number was 6 games of his teams this year, were decided in either the 19.5 ball or the 20th over ball of the innings. In other words, their record could be dramatically different if a couple of things have gone their way, a couple of things went their way, a couple of runs here. And let's just drill down on that point in just a second, because the record for the St. Louis Americans is 2 wins, 5 losses. Let's just say, in the scenario that Ajay painted, if it were 5 games that came down to losses at the last minute, what if instead of those 5 losses, you had 5 wins? You're looking at 7 wins and no losses. What if it were, say, 3 wins instead of 5 losses? You could have had 5 wins and 2 losses. So, a long way of saying this team is talented, and don't misread the fact that just because they have a record that has them at the bottom of the table that they're not a good team. They're a very good team, just probably needed a couple more breaks the rest of the season. Pay attention to the way that develops the rest of the way here. So after the wicket, you've had a dot, and then a 2 and then a 1. So the last ball coming up here in Baladetia Cthulhu's over. Absolutely love to see this young man succeed. And again, I'm selfishly saying that, number one, because I personally have known him for several years. And then number two, development requires that youth do well. And it's always good to see young cricketers, whether male or female, doing what they need to do. 2 runs coming from that over. Brilliant stuff. Make that 3 runs coming from the over. And at the end of over number 8, the score is 49 for 3. We keep an eye toward Pearland, Texas. It appears as though the rain has gone away for the moment as Ryan Taj in this game comes back into the attack. So 1 over in the books, 2 delivers into the second over in Pearland. The Metroplex Tracers are 7 without loss, chasing 139. And so they need another 132 in 112 balls, all 10 wickets in hand. But we'll be watching the Duckworth-Lewis par score as you get through the remaining overs in this match. But anyway, back to the action in the game that we're actually following here in Grand Prairie. This is lofted down the ground, and it is straight enough. Oh, look at that piece of work. That is excellent. Good piece of fielding by Saf Badar down at long on. And he does well enough to keep that from going over the ropes. So Saf Badar, excellent in the field. Mentioned earlier that he has about the strongest throwing arm that you'll see. Lofted down the ground. Look at this piece of work coming from the bottom of your screen. And that to me is excellent. Just does enough. Oh, this is cut away. A little bit too wide by Ryan Taj. And expertly put away behind point by Kiran Vade for 4. So just a little bit of width offered. Look at this replay again. And just planting, going back on his back foot and planting that one behind point and racing away for boundary number 5 of the inning so far. And by the way, the 50 is now up, 55 for 3. Kiran Vade 9 from 7. Utkarsh Srivastava 10 from 17. That's a better length and a better line. A dot ball here. You're in over number 9. So just another over and 1 delivery before you get to the water break, one would think. And you certainly want to have a water break here in Grand Prairie. The temperature, current temperature, is 91 degrees Fahrenheit, about 32, 33 degrees Celsius. But it is also the fact that the humidity makes it feel a lot worse than that. So not surprising to those of us who live in Texas, but jarring nonetheless when you go out of the air conditioning and down into the field. End up over number 9. The score is 56 for 3. Quick look at the scorecard. 2 scores, excuse me, 2 scores in double figures so far. Ahmad Alam, 16 from 16. He has been dismissed. 12 of those 16 came from the first 4 balls of the match. Hit them for 6. But since then, Utkarsh Srivastava looking to gain some momentum toward the back end of his season. The bowlers have been decent. 1 wicket each for Abhimanyu Lamba, Mohamed Ilyas, and Balak Cthulhu. Ryan Taj and Karan Anand, who is now going to be taking over from the theater end, will be looking to, in some way, maintain the type of pressure that has been built in the last several deliveries. Over number 10 about to be bowled here. Ryan Taj, his 2 overs so far have cost 11 runs. Get back to what he can do later here. First ball, skied in the air. Is it going to be catchable? No. Lands in no man's land. Couple of runs on offer. Oh my goodness, the direct hit there would have been interesting, but they do get 2 runs. And so Ryan Taj, watch this delivery. Let's see where this goes. Leg spinner, and that shows you turn. I'll tell you what, that was a great delivery. And I don't know that he doesn't want to get that ball straighter. If that ball starts straighter, turning away, that becomes a very dangerous ball. Struck in the air, and it goes for 6. So he gave him width. As I said, I wanted to see him bowl that ball straighter. And that's not straight. That is plowed away over the top of extra cover. Watch this. Outside the line of off, well outside, and turning away. And Kiran Vade elevates it over the top for 6. That is 6 number 3 from in the innings. The first 2 came in the first 5 balls of this innings, and since then a relatively quiet day with the bat, but overall the scoring rate is just picking up a little bit. While the players in the deep look for the ball in the stands, we'll put away or turn our attention back to Pearland, Texas, where the score for the Metroplex Tracers after 2, the score is 8-1. Ansh Boje has been dismissed without scoring. 4 balls faced but dismissed by Aaron Nadkarni. Aaron Tamala and Joshua Trump are the 2 at the wicket. Joshua Trump, none from 1. Aaron Tamala, 8 from 7. So we will absolutely keep an eye on that game because it has huge implications for the playoffs. This is much, much better. You want that ball fuller and you want it straighter. You want to tempt the batter with those balls that has him playing tentatively. So that's what you wanted to have happen here. See what happens these last 3 balls. Oh no, not that length, but look at this. Oh, put down. It was a long hop. It deserved to be put into the seats. It was put directly in the hands of Muhammad Ilyas, who drops a sitter. There's no other way to put it. Look at this. Very straightforward, and he puts it down. And the sweep shot subsequently is a single. Boy, you as a bowler absolutely are mortified when that happens. Muhammad Ilyas had a very long time to look at it. I think he slightly misjudged it. Tried to take it waist height, and very frankly was a little more casual with it than his coaches would like. Stumping opportunity not given. So an eventful over. You had a 6, had a drop catch, you had a stumping that could almost have been, but at the end of it, 10 runs come from the over. End of over number 10. The water break will be coming up right now, and we'll take a break along with the players. The Michigan Cricket Stars, when we resume, will need 58 runs in 60 balls. Few highlights. Those 2 sixes in the first over by Ahmad Alam. A lot of activity since then. Mohamed Ilyas was fiery. And a couple more highlights. But going back to live action on the field, it is Ryan Taj to start over number 11. I think you've seen from these youngsters that even though they won't be in the playoffs, but the activity that you've seen from them indicates that they are more than capable of being excellent cricketers, and you want to see that continue. And so on the way here, given the fact that this pair of bowlers, spinners, looks to be playing the part and doing essentially what you need for them to do at the back end of the innings, you're in position here to defend this target. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but in many ways, what you've done has put you in a position of being at least in the game. And let's see what happens the rest of the way here, because Kiran Vade, 19 from 14, Utkarsh Srivastava, 12 from 21. But just being able to work the ball around it in the way that they are, in theory, that could be good enough. But you lose a wicket or two, and of course, you're immediately talking about a different game entirely. But in the meantime, I think the approach that this batting pair is taking at the moment is the right one. Deficit reduced to 55 from 9.2 overs, in other words, 56 balls. And so you actually can win this by scoring at the rate of a run a ball. Cut to backward point, no run. So, do you need wickets? I think the answer to that question is yes. Can you get wickets by building pressure? Yes. And so a string of dot balls would not be the worst thing in the world here from Ryan Taj and the rest of the bowlers. Knocked him over. Great delivery. I want to see that one again, because I think that's evidence of what the left-hander is trying to do from around the wicket. Drifting in, pitching, straightening, and touching the top of middle and off. So let's take a look at that one again when we can, because this is a left-hander's dream, I would imagine. So take a look at with the replay when it comes up. Take a look at this. From around the wicket. Drifting in, pitching, and turning. Goes past the outside edge. That is a dream delivery. That is what, as a left-handed orthodox bowler, you are trying to do. That is expert stuff from Ryan Taj. The end of his third over, takes his first wicket, 14 runs conceded in his spell so far. And Michigan Cricket Stars are 69 for 4. Look at this again. Look at the drift and the turn. If we could see that one more time. Drifts in from around the wicket, straightens and goes past the outside edge. And it is certainly drift and turn has a lot to do with it. But how about the length? Look at this. That length, maybe not quite the right angle that we're looking for, but we still have the ability to see how good a bowler Ryan Taj is. There it is right there, just through him. And that was a little fast, so we didn't get the chance to highlight what we're looking to highlight. But for me, that is a dream delivery. Look at this again. As this ball is pulled away down the ground, should just be a single. So we'll take a look at this again on that last delivery from Ryan Taj. Drifting in from around the wicket, coming in, it pitches and then turns back this way. That's an exaggerated line that I just drew, but the idea is you want the batter coming forward and then have the ball bite and turn past the outside edge. That's what you're trying to do as a spinner. And maybe we'll pay some more closer attention to that type of to that delivery after the over is finished, because I think if you're looking for things to build on as a bowling unit or really as a franchise, you can take that example from that delivery from Ryan Taj and say, here, this is something that we can work with. And this is really good stuff. Karen Anand now into his second over. 2 runs, make that 1 run conceded from this over so far. Great ball. Leg spinner goes past the outside edge. And the efforts that you're seeing from this young St. Louis team, I think, bears celebration. Look at this. Oh, beautiful. And that's the leg spinner's answer to that orthodox left arm spinner from Ryan Taj. Played into the offside. That was maybe a little too wide and a little too full. So that's a circuit breaker, if you will, that releases some of the pressure that was building. Let's see what happens the rest of the way here. But a good passage of play. Scoring rate is slowing down. 25 runs have scored from the last 2 overs, to include the balls that are about to come. But my goodness, this feels like St. Louis believes that they're in the game. Played into the offside, no run. So we're going to want to take a look at that delivery again to dismiss the ball at the end of Ryan Taj's last over. Batter is Kohal Nawaz. He's in. Tossed up, played it to the offside. They'll get a single here. That is the end of a really productive over. 3 runs coming from it. The score is 72 for 4. So let's take a look at this again when we get the chance. And what I want to highlight, you saw the drift and turn, but look where the ball lands. It lands in that range. Look where it lands. You're drawing the batter forward in that range. That's slightly shorter than where I drew. In that range. But in that range, the bowler still is inducing the batter to come forward. Or at best, he's trapping him on the crease. What you don't want is for the batter to be able to go back on the back foot and play you square of the wicket. So that length is as important as both the drift and the turn. So excellent bowling from Ryan Taj. I think you've seen evidence that this young team has so much to work with for the future. Back to Ryan Taj for his last over. In the air, down the ground, and this is in the gap, goes away for 4. So after all of that build-up, he gets one just a little too straight. And Utkarsh Srivastava, who's now been there for all of 25 balls, is looking to get out of the doldrums that he believes is in. And I think you'll find that this one is maybe just not quite a bad delivery. But if you have the batter being able to play a cross-batted shot instead of playing with a straight bat, then that tells you that you probably have better options as bowling options. A good comeback delivery there. Quicker and flatter, pushing that one through Ryan Taj. And with 4 balls remaining in his day, he'll be pleased with his work so far. Just 18 runs conceded, even with that big boundary. And that's worked down the ground. So, on balance, 3 balls remaining in over number 13. Do you find yourself getting worried at all? The required rate is now above 6. In theory, it should not be that you are concerned, but you also don't want to lose any more wickets. 4 wickets down, 77 runs on the board. You need another 47 in the next 45 balls. But the great Jeff Boycott used to say, or says all the time, if you want to realize how precarious a position is, think of the team that's batting as having lost 2 more wickets. And if they lose 2 more wickets here, 77 for 6, make that 78 for 6 after that single, then it's a completely different game. And so if you're Michigan, yes, as of right now, you're probably still favored to win this game, but you don't want to get careless, and you certainly don't want to put yourself in the position where you are tied down by the bowlers again. So we'll pay attention to the way that that develops the rest of the way. Last ball coming up. Down the leg side. And watch umpire Vishnu Pillai here. It's bonus runs. These are runs that you can ill afford to have cost your team. Last ball coming up here in over number 13. The scoreboard is working like madness to get caught up with all the action. I think it's 1 ball left, but the scoreboard says 2. Played back to the bowler himself. In fact, you see umpire Vishnu Pillai there signaling that there is only 1 ball left. So you get to the point where you're looking to get through the remaining 43 balls to keep a team inside 44 runs. That becomes very difficult. Cut and miss from that last ball. End of over number 13. 80 for 4. So 80 for 4 with Karsh Srivastava, 19 from 27. Nawaz Khan, I should say Khurram Nawaz Khan, is 2 from 6. And this is going to be Karan Anand to continue. About to bowl his 3rd over. In fact, he's starting his 3rd over. Pulled into the deep, Joshua Kind. Joshua Kind is not bowled yet. He's more than an effective medium pacer. Not yet asked to do anything with the ball. Batted earlier, probably scored fewer runs than he was comfortable with. But once again, at this stage of the innings, you're simply looking to see what you can do to sort of stabilize things, keep wickets in hand. You're much better off as a batting side if you keep wickets in hand as you go into the last couple of overs, maybe the last 3 or so overs. Karan Anand now inducing the big shot and a miss by Nawaz Khan. And all of a sudden, the required rate sneaking upward, 6.62. Another 43 needed in 39 balls. Make that 42 and 38 after that single. And your opportunities here become rather limited. If you're looking to take wickets, then you have to show a commitment to taking wickets, because singles alone essentially get you close enough at this stage. So you can't just easily concede a single, because that gets you closer to the target. This is lofted down the ground. Catchable. Is it? Oh, put down. It was not an easy catch. And then that secondary effort by the fielder long on, I think, does well enough to save 2 runs. Let's see. It was a difficult catch. I believe that's Adnit jammed on it long off. Ball is in the air for an eternity, but boy, you would have wanted to have taken that. Here he comes from the right of your screen. Boy, did get there, but not quite able to tuck it away. Adnit jam. Next delivery tossed up, and that is a blow. Straight down the ground. That goes for 6. More authoritative. That is Utkarsh Srivastava, and that is him at his best. Straight down the ground, 6 runs to close out over number 14. 10 runs coming from the over. The score is 90 for 4. So Balakathula bowled 2 overs earlier in the innings. First 2 overs cost 13 runs combined. That over that cost 10 runs was still a brilliant over, simply from the standpoint of seeing the different skill set that Balakutula has, able to swing it both directions and has a fair amount of pace. And I'm not grading him on a curve because he's a 15-year-old. He does have excellent pace. Run out opportunity. Oh, not going to go. But back to Balakutula. Single or the dot ball here means that he has now just potentially 11 balls left in his spell. So 13 runs coming from his first 2 overs. But again, in that first over where 10 runs were conceded, he sprayed a couple down the leg side. The left arm and left hand and right hander did not help that. But he showed an ability to swing the ball that will be very, very useful. What a great delivery that one is. Goes past the outside edge. And Nawaz Khan it is who's not able to get any bat on that. Look at this again. The angle, left arm over. Oh, a peach of a delivery. Okay, apologies for my voice cracking. I promise I'm not going through puberty. That's more the effects of last night's game that is still in my mind and impacting my voice, put it that way. But maybe after this over, we'll revisit the action in Pearland, Texas. Stroked into the leg side. A little bit of a fumble. Not picked up clean by Saif Badar. Actually, that's Abdul Lamba, the captain. And so you can see the single here. 3 dots and then a single. So it's good bowling by Balakutula. I'm not sure why the scorecard shows his name as ACA Hawk, even though the American Cricket Academy is in St. Louis. So maybe that is somebody who's entering the data on the website, mixing up the name with the academy that they play for. 1 ball remaining in over number 15. At the end of this over, we'll revisit our time in, not our time, but we'll visit the action in Pearland, Texas. Pearland is, well, I could guess or I could give you a very precise accounting of this. From where we sit at this moment, the Musa Cricket Stadium, as we see what is going on the field, that goes away for 4. So that spoils the over from Balakutula. And I just looked it up. From here to Kingsman Arena in Musa Stadium, it is 274 miles. So about 275 miles away. So I said 300 earlier. I might have been I was mistaken. But in any event, 4 runs coming from that last ball. 5 make that. Ooh, I thought that was 5 from the over. But there's a dot in there somewhere that was recorded as a single. So this should be the last ball. Coming up, Balakutula in his last delivery played into the leg side. They want 2 and they will not get it. So good over, bowled by Balakutula. End of over number 15. The score is 95 for 4. And as promised, let's see what is going on down in Pearland. The Metroplex Tracers are batting in the 7th over. They are 44 for 2. Iron Tamala not out 24 from 23. Anch Boje not from 4. Joshua Trump dismissed 14 from 10. Brilliant young cricketer. He and his brother Matthew 14 from 10. And then Shubham Ranjan, the captain, 4 from 5. So currently batting Iron Tamala and Shubham Ranjani. They need another 95 runs in 13 overs. 7.5 runs and over is their target. And in fact, it would not be a bad idea for us to check in on the weather forecast to see what it looks like down in Pearland. Because, my goodness, things become more and more tricky if you have to enter the Duckworth-Lewis equation. And you look and see where you are now. Come back to Pearland in just a second. In fact, oh, look at this. Current temperature in Pearland is 89 degrees, so slightly cooler than it is here, but of more interest is the forecast. And there's scattered showers throughout the day in Pearland, a 55% chance of rain. But the forecast also says rain is starting in about 20 minutes. So we'll pay attention to that. By the way, Mohamed Elias back into the attack. Looking to slash this one away. This is going to be a bye. And we'll pay attention to how this develops the rest of the way. But my goodness, this really does feel like, in fact, we'll see a signal. No signal from umpire Samir Bandekar. So for the moment, we will assume that that's a run off the bat. Amadelius, 2 overs in the books and a couple of singles here to start his 3rd over. And by the way, this game, oh, look at that short delivery. It's pulled into the deep. It's pulled really toward long on. So not often that you see a pull shot end up at long on. But ultimately, it's just 3 singles already in over number 16. And you do have a long way to go in Pearland. The proceedings right here will be a little bit less complex and I think less, maybe less motivating might not be the right phrase, but Yorker length played into the offside. There's a sweeper out there, no run. In fact, for a single. So 4 wickets down. So a partnership that is underway right here between Khurram Nawaz Khan and Utkarsh Shrivastava is worth 29. And 29 does not sound like a very imposing number, but that may be good enough to bring your team home here. Short delivery, play down to short 3rd. Do they want a 2nd run? They wanted a 2nd run. In fact, it's Nawaz Khan who wanted that 2nd run, but no realistic chance of being able to get it. So let's see. 5 singles in the over already. Can you win this game scoring singles? By the way, that last single bringing up the 100, 104, or 100 for 4, 24 runs needed from 25 balls. So this game is actually turning out to be very interesting. How about a wicket here? If you take a wicket here, then that makes things even that much more challenging. Guiding it over down to deep 3rd, and it goes for 4. That is smart batting by Utkarsh Shrivastava. Saw that Mohamed Elias was bowling the shorter ball, and he just intentionally rides the bounce, helps it over what would have been the slips Gordon, and it goes away for 4. So good over. Ultimately, 9 runs coming from it. End of over number 16. The score is 104 for 4. $104 for 4. 20 needed in 24 balls. 6 wickets in hand. If you ask me for my win predictor, as I've done this entire weekend, I'd say it's probably 78-22 to the Michigan Cricket Stars. It's certainly not over, but you've taken huge steps toward getting to your target. And as of right now, boy, you're going to have to fancy yourself as being able to get to that number to whatever extent you can. Balakatula to bowl his last over. So single, in fact a dot ball from this first ball of the over. And we'll see exactly what we get done here the rest of the way. Good couple of overs, good couple of deliveries is what I meant. And so, you've gotten yourself into a good position here. Even though you've absorbed a couple of dots, those couple of dots don't necessarily make a big difference. The more important statistic is that you're able to continue to take wickets, you're able to continue to push on toward your target. And even though a couple of dots have happened, you still are only chasing 5.45 and over. 20 from the next 22. Skied away down to deep third. That's just going to be a single. So Karim Nawaz Khan is one who has essentially looked to be aggressive, but not quite coming off. But you also have Utkar Shrivastava, who is now a run-a-ball 34, playing the role of senior batter. You like seeing him do that. You also like seeing him take charge at the moment. Similar to the conversation that we had earlier, was that he didn't think he was having as good a season as he thought he would have. But my response essentially is, you're a brilliant cricketer and you will continue to succeed despite the fact that you might have had a season where you didn't think that you did enough. My sense is that you will see much of this young man in USA colors and beyond for the coming years. 2 balls remaining. Excellent over on the way, it has to be said. Last 2 balls, only 1 run from the over so far. Quick single. Going back to the previous point that we raised about maybe an hour or so ago now. Balakatula picked that up with his right hand and was looking to take a shot at the stumps. So if you can sprint in and bowl at high pace with your left hand or left arm, and then pick up and attempt to throw with your right, that just tells you the kind of cricketer that he is. Absolutely tremendous stuff from Balakatula. Last ball coming up. In the air, deep mid wicket. Is it in the gap? Yes, it is, and it's 4. So Balakatula's over. In fact, his spell is spoiled by that last ball. My sense looking at it live is that it was just a little too straight. Let's look at the replay here. It's actually not too straight. It's ending up on the stumps, and that ball was played across the line. So in theory, it's the type of ball that you could get a wicket on. But this time, Karim Nawaz was the better of the 2 in that matchup. And unfortunately for Balakatula, his day ends. I say unfortunately. He only still conceded 24 runs in 4 overs. That's a run a ball. A run a ball and 1 wicket in a game where the opposition needs 6.5 to win per over. You're doing your part. So the last 3 overs coming up. This one to be bowled, I believe, by Abhimani Matthew, or Abimanu Lamba. Let's see. Played into the leg side. They should get 2 here. No, just 1. So we'll see exactly how you're able to go here. Scorecard not quite caught up yet, but I believe this is Abimanu Lamba. 1-1-1 for 4. The late Dickie Bird is hopping around in paradise as we speak. I said the late Dickie Bird. My apologies. Dickie Bird is well and truly alive. I meant the late David Shepard. I hope that does not offend anyone. Dickie Bird is a brilliant umpire. I had to, if I had to guess as to his age, I'd probably guess around 90. But he's well and truly alive. Now, the umpire I was referring to earlier was David Shepard. And it's no longer relevant, obviously, because the 1-1-1 is no longer on the screen. But a long way of saying this is a glorious game, and I'll leave it at that. Short delivery, misses out on the pull. And this is again Abimanu Lamba bowling his last over. Over number 18, of course. Find out exactly the way that you approach things from this point on. But things, no question, are difficult as a bowling side to attempt to overhaul this total. Slow delivery, played into the leg side. Joshua Kind after coming back for the second. Couple runs. So just a bit of a delay here. Wanting to make sure things get in the right position. By the way, the scorecard isn't exactly being updated. Unofficially, I have the score at 114 for 4. And you'll see that shortly in just a minute. Down the leg side again, and it's a good athletic tape by Eric Anantha. Let's see what you can get done the rest of the way here. And once again, just bear with us while we get the scorecard working. Unofficially 114 for 4. Also unofficially, the last ball in the over is coming up. We'll get all of that sorted out. There we go. I think this is right. We're back on target. Last ball. And that last ball is a dot. Just 4 runs coming from the over. This is not going to be necessarily easy. 10 runs remaining. 2 overs left to get them. Mohamed Ilyas will bowl the penultimate over of the innings. Not surprising that you give that responsibility to your best strike bowler. And I think that would be Mohamed Ilyas. 10 needed in 12 balls. My voice cannot survive another super over, so I hope it doesn't go in that direction without stating who I would prefer to win this match. Either way, maximum of 20 or 12 balls remaining. That is wide. And that goes away for a bonus run. So 9 runs remaining from 12. Quick peek into the goings on in Pearland. Aaron Tamala has been run out, 33 for 29. So the batters are Shubham Ranjane, and Joshua Trump's twin brother Matthew. So the big picture is you need another 74 in 10 overs. Halfway through the chase, the DLS par score, incredible. DLS par score is 65. The Metroplex Tracers are on 65 with rain around. So this one, yet again, is going to come down to the wire. Under no circumstances is my heart built for this type of action. 2 straight days. So the Metroplex Tracers, again, if they win this, they will be in the 2 versus 3 game. And I would imagine that that game would take place on Tuesday of this week, right here in the stadium. If the Metroplex Tracers lose this game, then the 2 versus 3 match takes place, I believe, tomorrow. And in any event, regardless of which 2 teams play, number 1, the game will be in the stadium, and number 2, you will see that the winner of that game becomes the number 2 team, and they go through to the finals, the Super 8s, if you will, in Morrisville, North Carolina. Want to make sure that that game or those games have to be advertised. We want to see exactly which day it is. It's either Monday the 29th or Tuesday the 30th is when those games will start. But if you can get to Morrisville, North Carolina, feel free to go attend. The matches are free. If you cannot get to Morrisville, North Carolina, you can follow the action on the MLC YouTube channel, which is probably where you're watching this game right now. And I'd imagine at some point, depending on how deep into the playoffs we're talking about, maybe as far as the final may be on Willow TV, so you'll pay attention to that. In the meantime, going back to where you are here, that last delivery was a wide. So just 6 runs remaining for victory for the Michigan Cricket Stars. Ooh, was that wide on line or on height? Doesn't make a difference at this stage, but that would be interesting to find out the answer to the question. So the primary umpire, Vishnu Pillai, gave the wide, which means that it was the line. I want to see that one more time if we can, because I don't know that this was inside or outside the line. Let's take a look at this again when it comes up. That protest right there from Mohamed Ilyas probably says he agrees with what I just said. Look at this again. If it passes outside, oh, that's well inside the line. It looks like you could possibly have an argument from the standpoint of the square leg umpire, but that to me looks like it's not a wide. But anyway, played into the leg side. I'm sorry, into the offside, you'll get a single here. And with that single, 2 balls remaining in over number 19, just 5 runs remaining for victory. The Michigan Cricket Stars are on their way, or at least are on the cusp of completing a pretty straightforward victory here. So let's see what happens the rest of the way. Going into the penultimate, 2 balls left in the over. Yorker length, squeeze through the offside. Is it in the gap? It is in the gap, and it goes away for 4. So that means that the scores are level. And with 1 ball remaining, let's see exactly how this goes. Look at this delivery. Give all the credit in the world to Utkarsh Srivastava, who carves it through the offside to bring his team to within 1 run of victory. Last ball to be bowled here by Mohamed Ilyas. I would tell you, if I'm Mohamed Ilyas, I would summon my best bouncer in this moment. Doesn't make a big difference in the context of the game, you don't think? But let's see. Went for the Yorker, clipped the square leg. That is the end of the game. Utkarsh Srivastava finishes 43 from 43. Run a ball 43. Absolutely gets you in the area that you need to be. The Michigan Cricket Stars win this game by the margin of 6 wickets. And by the way, we have to also acknowledge that this became the 50-run partnership for this pair. Put together partnership of 55. There's your full scorecard. Utkarsh Srivastava, 43 from 43. Kuramna was 20 from 26, and they did the majority of the heavy lifting. And for the bowlers, I think the bowlers did what they needed to do to try to build pressure, not quite able to build as much of it as they wanted to. 1 wicket each for all of the bowlers except for Karan Anand. And no bowler had an economy rate of more than Karan Anand's 7.67. But ultimately, there were just not enough runs to defend. So going through and looking at a few highlights here, a couple of lusty blows in that first over. And for me, a good piece of action there. Mohamed Ilyas, I think, bowled well. And then the top order of Michigan didn't exactly get the start that they wanted to. This is a simple catch taken by Naman Anwar. But ultimately, you're looking at an absolutely dominating performance. I would think that one cutaway. And for me, the number one thing that comes out of this entire match, as you see that catch by Adnit Jam. The number one thing that comes out of this match is the return to form of Utkarsh Srivastava. And taking things on, this here for me is a dream delivery. Drift, turn, bounce, and then this is played into the outfield, tossed up straight down the ground for 6. But ultimately, as I mentioned, just not enough runs to play with. And Utkarsh Srivastava showing off here. First that ramp down to deep third, and that square drive to get you within the scores being level. And that is all that is needed. Ladies and gentlemen, for the very first time, for the last time rather, we'll revisit the action going on in Pearland. 79 for 3, 60 runs needed in 8.2 overs. The Duckworth-Lewis par score is 75. And as a reminder, there's the points table. Kings 11 Dallas, number 2, X4 Giants 3, Metroplex Tracers 4. If the Metroplex Tracers win this game, they will jump ahead into the number 2 spot behind the Kingsmen, and then the playoffs will be, or the play-in game will be between the Kings 11 Dallas and the Metroplex Tracers. If the Metroplex Tracers lose, the second versus third place game is between Kings 11 Dallas and Dallas X4 Giants. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure bringing cricket's fabulous minor league cricket 2025 to you for the last several days. We will take our leave of you, and we will see you one way or the other in either the play-in game or the playoffs when they start in Morrisville on the 29th. For the time being and for the last time this weekend, this is Brian Walters signing off for the evening. Good night and good luck.